Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's regular scheduled meeting of the Freeport City Council. It is Monday, August 4th, 2025 at 6 p.m. I will declare that a quorum is present and will call this meeting to order. At this time, I will ask Councilman Rosso to lead us both in the pledge and the prayer.
Let's pray. Lord, we're thankful for gathering together once again. We thank you, Lord, for all you've done, all you're doing, and we even thank you for what you're going to do. We ask you to word our mouths, deal with our minds, bless everyone under the sound of my voice. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, and you may be seated. At this time, we have audience participation is what it's called on here, but I like to call it citizens' comments. We'll call them in the order that they came in. First, we have Mr. Wade Dillon.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City of Freeport. I just wanted to share some updates from the Freeport Historical Museum. Really, these are numbers to be proud of. Our shark exhibit, which continues to run until, well, the image was up there, August 13th. We just crossed 4,072 visitors.
Wow.
For the entirety of the shark exhibit. Our Facebook page, the followers has grown to 9,131, so we are the most followed museum in Brazoria County when it comes to Facebook. So just continuing to, put out the quality content and the engagement to bring people to the museum. Our next exhibit after the shark exhibit is Class in Session, Freeport's Educational Heritage, which opens September 6th. Our programs coordinator, Loretta, has been working hard on that. That's also going to be a free exhibit, so if you all can come out, please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Wade, and thank you for what you do down there. Next, we have Miss Melanie Oldham.
Good evening, Mayor and new city manager and council, and my councilman, Mr. Councilman Davis, especially. I'm Melanie Oldham. I live at 1206 West Broad, and I just got back in town late last night, so I read through the supporting documents real quick this morning. But there's just two issues I was going to speak to. One, I think that you're all going to discuss about whether or not you as a council should vote to get a copy of the, quote, Pena trial transcript. And this is why I think you all should consider doing that. I actually I went to the Pena trial, and when I walked in, I missed the morning, I think, when Mr. Pena maybe testified, but I got there in the afternoon, and behind the prosecutors, there was, it was interesting, there was Cindy Kane, Desiree Pearson, Nicole, Sam, the Barnetts, Donna Fisher, George, Clarissa behind the prosecutors. And then on the other side was Mr. Pena's, actually people from his Ward A were there, friends, family, supporters. And so I kind of sat in the middle and listened. But I can tell you by the end of 2 hours after they took a break from that trial, I knew two things, and I'm not a lawyer, that case was so trumped up it would that there's no way that a jury would have ever found him guilty. And so that was a waste of time and money for the city. Also, I also watched our former city attorney get caught not telling the truth on the witness stand, and they took the jury out. They pointed out to him all the emails that they had between him and Mr. Pena, and he had to finally, they brought him back in. He had to admit, well, I guess I didn't understand your question, and basically he didn't tell the truth. Then I heard Mr. Kelty get up there and say, I was told by a group of people to go after Mr. Pena, so I called Mr. Selleck directly, told him to get him any way you can, and then, let's see, how did Kelty say it? Oh, then they put Mr. Selleck's investigator on the stand. He said, well, I was told just to talk to a couple of people, then let it go. And so it was so I was very disappointed in some of the former leadership, and even David Olson that testified. You know, no matter how much you dislike somebody or whatever, to get on the stand and lie and not tell the truth, and they got caught at it. So I think because there was a lot of people here in this room, and y'all maybe interpret it different than me, but I think all of y'all need to read that transcript. And I don't know why Tom Selleck was in and out of that courtroom so much, but he was making me nervous coming in and out during that trial. But please talk about, you know, looking at it. Then all of you can get your questions answered, hopefully. And then finally, I think you all are going to talk about public comment. And I know, I don't know, was it a year ago that Mayor Kane or whoever decided to take off the work session? And I don't, you know, and then it was put back on. But in my opinion, a lot of others, that work session should never, ever been taken off in the beginning. That was so wrong. If you want to hear from us, the public, and we want to hear as public, all of our councilmen talk to us and let us know that they're looking into some of the issues we bring up. It not only hurt whoever you plan to silence, but it hurt everybody in Freeport, citizens, because we, all that time, months and months and months, we could not hear from our individual councilmen. So I hope, you know, I heard a comment that, well, as long as everybody behaves, we'll keep it on there. Well, if you really want to hear from the public, please
Ms. Oldham.
keep it on there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Manning Rollerson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just like Melly, I'm here. I just got in last night from New York City. Went to go find out for myself about migrants. And what I saw, there was no murderers, rapers, drug dealers, assassins, none of that nonsense that's in the ecosphere. What I saw is innocent people, families, Latino, migrants that came here for generations, being thrown in cages, babies, separating families because of government. Same type of government we got here in Freeport, Texas. Don't listen to the people. Do what they want to do. Don't care what our opinions is. Don't care about our health. Wife went to jail in New York City protesting because of the toxic poisoning of this community. Well, she's sick and has cancer, and she got arrested with civil disobedience in New York City because our government and our community don't want to hear the voices of their own people. They got to go somewhere else. It's sad. It's sad that we have a government in this city that you can't trust anyone. Your words don't mean anything. We have a wedge drawn between us because we have a certain populace in our community that keep that wedge going. Understand? In order to build up, make our city a strong city and that we are united, we have to get rid of the wedges. Who can we trust? Who can we trust? Are we going to keep going down the same road? Definitely, when y'all get ready to pick the mayor pro tem, I will go with the young in the first place, the youth, because the youth is the future of us. To be going forward in the future. We have done went down that road of my grandmother and them dream and my mother and them dream, and it has failed Freeport for 57 years based on Freeport growth and based on Freeport economical policies that hurt the community, based on the toxicity of our rivers and our waters. I wonder when y'all gonna tell us the truth about the murders and the deaths that happens every single summer in the city of Freeport based on the water that we drink. That is something that y'all supposed to be releasing to the public because they are affected by the water. I wonder why 89% of our water would be given to the manufacturing agency based on this desalination plant that's going to, y'all will be voting on here soon, considering putting a desalination plant in the community that's not going to work in this community. We have enough toxic industries in the city of Freeport, Texas. When are y'all going to wake up? Freeport haven't grown based on all the industry that we have in Freeport. 57 years of build out in Freeport is below the federal poverty level. So when are you going to wake up and see that it's not working? Because it's not. It's only working for a few, and this city is dying. What else we going to go to? The EDC house over there. Somebody needs to take the responsibility and lock that gate up or put some no trespassing sign. I find it very weak that this city government is going to leave that open for some children to be hurt. On this soccer field, I disagree 100% about $500,000 of taxpayers' money be put in a soccer field that is private. If it's private, give us our $500,000 back. That's what I mean. Because if it's not for the city and the children can't utilize it, then it's not, public money is not supposed to be invested into that. It's supposed to be invested into the public. So we need to change that. We'll find another way to fix that issue if it takes lawsuits. And definitely during the centennial of Freeport, I will be having a protest march in the city of Freeport. Because at the end of the day, the 100-year plan has come to fruition when you see the East End is gone based on the 1932 segregation order that came from the city of Freeport. But at the end of the day, guys,
Mr. Ocean,
we got to change this.
thanks, sir. All right. Next, we have the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have action regarding the minutes of the July 15th, 2025 meeting and the July 21st, 2025 meeting. Action approving changing the date of the first meeting in September due to the Labor Day holiday. Move the date to Tuesday, September 2nd. We have action approving resolution number 2025-2941 for the joint election agreement and contract for election services with the county clerk of Brazoria County, Texas, and the city of Freeport. Then we also have approval of road closure for the 15th annual Kid Fest. Council, what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I'm going to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Davis. Council, is there any discussion needed on this item? Any comments? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Councilman Pena being the nay. Mr. Pennington, would you like to share with us the updates that we got going on? Number 3.
Yes, Mayor. We've got upcoming events at the Freeport Historical Museum that Wade talked about earlier, the shark exhibit. 3B is a presentation updated on the proposed budget for the fiscal year 25-26 that Ashley will present. And then there's a discussion on the city's role in BWA water contract that Kenneth Hayes will present.
All right. Ashley, did you want to come up now?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Tonight's presentation is to provide updates on things that have changed in the proposed budget since it was presented previously. Tonight, Council also received the first showing of the newly designed digital budget book. This document was made possible by the 2025 Council-approved budget book purchase. The software is very finicky, so any feedback is appreciated to ensure that we have an end result that everyone is happy with. After the budget has been officially adopted, the software will be embedded on our city website for digital presentation and navigation. At the end of the presentation, questions will be answered to the best of my ability. There it goes. Okay, the general fund overall summary. Adjustments were made to the general fund that increased expenditures by an overall $189,213. This has reduced the overall surplus of the general fund from an original $1,811,390 to $1,622,177. It will still increase the overall reserves of the fund, and then additionally, the transfers from other funds was increased by $19,635. The revenue numbers have not changed since it was first presented. There is still a general fund estimated revenue total of $1,638,480. Transfers from other funds was updated by the $19,635. This is offsetting some of the additional salary of the Main Street Coordinator position. This money comes from an agreement made between the EDC and the city in years prior for an annual payment of $19,635 made to the city would be help reimburse administrative expenses incurred. The money is kept separately in Fund 24, and the agreement states that it can be allocated for any project as agreed on by both parties. This money will be transferred from Fund 24 to the general fund to offset those additional salary costs as agreed upon by the EDC and the city in July. It is going to be an expense to the Fund 24 and a revenue for the general fund. After we received the final numbers for our budget increase, salary and benefits were reviewed a final time and adjustments were made as necessary. The admin decreased $3,650 from what was previously presented. Municipal court decreased $275 from previous presentation. The police department decreased by $8,997 from previous. The fire department decreased by $4,000 from previous. The EMS had an increase of $179,000 from previous due to the salaries being calculated incorrectly within the spreadsheet. Streets and drainage had a $1,000 decrease from previous presentation. Building and permits had a $500 decrease from the previous presentation. The Parks Department had a $2,000 decrease from previous presentation. The Rec Center had a $1,000 decrease from previous presentation. The golf course had a $2,000 decrease from previous presentation, and the Main Street budget had a $34,635 increase from the previous presentation. That would be the adjustment for the salaries, and then the other findings that Rachel with the EDC felt was appropriate for that budget. The overall impact of the expenditure adjustments is a total increase of $189,213 from the previous presentation. The overall surplus available to allocate for budget request is $1,622,177. At this time, we don't have any submitted requests for the general fund, If and when any approvals are made, they'll be represented within this fund by a transfer. I think it might have skipped one. It did. Again, with the streets and drainage, there hasn't been any general fund request. If and when, it will be represented in this fund by the transfer. The budget request list remains the same for the shown departments on the first set of departments. On the second set, the fire and EMS request no longer includes the tire replacement for the fire engines. It can be disregarded in your considerations. Chief Motley was able to handle that with some extra money he had in this year's budget.
Chief's back there shaking his head no.
For the fire, the tires? No, it was the air conditioners. Okay, scratch that. Overall, there is $2,346,776 worth of budget requests. There's available resources of $1,622,177 for the request. This is some educational info regarding the enterprise fund. After consideration of comments that were made previously, staff felt it was best to educate council and the public on the accounting guidelines and the policies that the water and sewer fund are to operate under. The fund itself should operate like a business, with water and sewer charges to cover all operating and debt obligations of the fund. The fund works on a working capital basis, better broken down to mean that it operates on a cash basis. The cash generated in the fund should be sufficient to cover the combined expenditures of the fund. A deficit shows that more cash is going out than cash that is coming in, which indicates a problem. Generally, the general fund should not transfer to cover any deficits. Governments are required to follow GASB, which is the Government Accounting Standards Board, which establishes accounting principles to be followed, known as GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. The GASB 34 statement states that user charges of an enterprise fund be set at a level sufficient to cover the cost of providing the service. The Texas Constitution, Article 3, Section 52A, generally prohibits cities from giving away water service below cost or for free. Both of these legislative sections would apply to the city's enterprise fund. Toby, that TV keeps going black. Additionally, staff reviewed the city's financial policy and found relevant sections in regards to this fund. Section 7 of the operating budget states the city is to develop and maintain a balanced budget that presents a clear understanding of the goals of the city council. Section 3, fund balance, working capital, net assets. B, the general policy, states the fund balance should be used only for non-recurring expenditures, major capital purchases, or emergencies that cannot be accommodated through current year savings. Section 1, revenues, B, user fees, states that services that benefit specific users where possible, the city shall establish and collect fees to recover the cost of those services. Where feasible and desirable, the city shall seek to recover full direct and indirect cost. City staff should review user fees on a regular basis to calculate the full cost recovery levels, to compare them to the current fee structure, and to recommend adjustments where necessary to facilitate City Council's policy decision regarding the level of support to be provided. Section 1, revenues, D, funds user fees, states that enterprise funds user fees shall be set at levels enough to cover operating expenditures, meet debt obligations, provide additional funding for capital improvements, and provide adequate levels of working capital and debt coverage. The city shall seek to eliminate all forms of subsidization to enterprise funds from the general fund and seek to reduce general fund support to enterprise funds. What does this mean for the city in regards to this year's budget? Transferring from the general fund to cover a deficit potentially violates the Texas Constitution, Article 3, as well as contradicts the GASB 34 statement. The billing rates for water and sewer have not been changed since September 1st of 2023. Last year, BWA cost increased by 14.14% overall to the city, a total additional cost of $378,760 since the last rate change. This year, BWA cost will increase an additional 7.8% overall, which totals $262,800. Last year, Veolia cost increased by 18.09% overall, a total additional cost of $474,873. This year, Veolia cost will increase by an estimated 3% overall, a total additional cost of $100,000. The grand total of the BWA increase in cost since the last rate adjustment is 21.97%, totaling $641,560. The grand total of Veolia increase in costs since the last rate adjustment is 21.09%, totaling $574,873. The grand total combined increase in costs since the last rate adjustment totals $1,216,433, which was very close to the overall deficit. A rate increase is recommended to increase the revenues to offset the increased expenses passed to the city from BWA and Veolia. After establishing the increase in costs that is contributing to the deficit, staff began researching further to determine how Freeport water bills compared to our neighboring cities. The water bill was based on a residential consumer using 3,000 gallons a month. Freeport remains one of, if not the cheapest utility bill. Last year, we continued operations without increasing the rates, but unfortunately, it is my recommendation that it is not sustainable to continue to do so. I prepared a 10% increase impact and a 20% increase impact. The impact was based on both a residential and a commercial customer, with the assumption of 3,000 gallon usage for residential and 5,000 gallon usage for commercial. A 10% increase in rates would be a $4.37 increase to the residential customer and an $11.13 increase to a commercial customer. It would generate additional revenues of approximately $873,718.48. A 20% increase in rates would be a $13.99 increase to a residential customer and roughly a $35.63 increase to a commercial customer. It would generate additional revenues of approximately $1,747,436.97. In order to offset the increase in cost of last year and this year, the 20% increase would be recommended. The Water and Sewer Fund was adjusted to create a balanced budget for adopting. In order to do that, revenue had to increase by $1,108,830. Expenditures were decreased by an additional $54,000. The fund has to have a solid operating plan to ensure that we see increased revenues, and it has the bare necessity amount of expenditures. This would mean that little to no maintenance is going to be possible without creating additional revenue above and beyond the $1,108,830. The details of the revenue increase include an additional $200 in disconnect fees and an overall increase of $1,108,630 in water and sewer services from what was previously presented. That was needed to balance the budget to prepare it for adoption. The recommendation of the 20% rate increase would cover that additional amount that we need and would produce enough extra revenue to invest in infrastructure projects. The new meters are producing more accurate consumption readings, which provides higher revenues. However, the rate increase is still recommended after review to help absorb the increase in operating costs the city has received, as well as the additional debt obligation being added for the loan payment of the water meter install project. The overall expenditures have decreased in each category as much as absolutely possible to close the gap for a balanced budget for adoption. The expenditure changes don't include, but we have received a formal request of a lift station generator, and staff is working diligently to gather costs so that we can prepare a financial impact for council regarding that. Overall, the expenditures were reduced additionally by $54,000 to help close the deficit gap. And now I can turn it over to council for questions.
Council, do you have any questions or comments? Hearing none?
All right. All right, I got one. I can go.
Yes, sir.
Are we gonna have another inside meeting to go over this, like we got a meeting one-on-one with him, Dan, you, or?
I don't know if we have any scheduled.
Not to my knowledge, but I think we're open to meeting
Yeah, but
whatever needs to
a
be
phone
done.
call could make it happen.
Okay.
I had a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let me go back to a slide, I think it was 2 or 3. I didn't want to stop you in the middle of presentation, but. Yeah, 2 down, one down, that one right there. And can I borrow a pen as well, please? This slide, first of all, this updated proposed budget, thank you for putting this together, to the City Hall staff, number 1. Where is this slide in this report?
In the
this-
budget?
In this budget,
It would be in the revenue.
okay. Do we have a page number for that relative to the report? I just want to be able to cross-reference it when I go back. And will this PowerPoint presentation also be available?
It can be, it's in the packet.
Okay,
but-
great.
But it can be posted. It would be page 40 of
Page
the
40.
budget book.
Thank you. So that's that 1,638,000. And then the next slide is slide 4. Is I guess the next page. Is that right?
Hold on, I have so many things on this one.
Yeah, that one
else
there.
in
Where's that? That one located.
Oh, that one's the first one. Or you want to see the revenue and expenses like that?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Oh, it's the same page.
Same
The
page.
The expenses are below that.
Yeah, I was looking for the 9.856, and all I see is a 7.392 on the following page. So the numbers do not match. On the budget, you have 7 million, 7.3 million, and on the PowerPoint slide, you have it at 9.8.
I see it. The beginning and ending fund balances are not something that we can change, so it's in the software, so let me
Okay.
make a note and I will find where it is wrong in there.
That's fine. And then I think it was slide number 16 that you had when you started getting into the violations. And you took a picture of it. So slide 13, yeah. So this is kind of some new knowledge, I guess, for me and for everybody else. Can you help to describe how the city's budget is comprised in terms of different funds? You have the enterprise fund, and what are the other funds?
Governmental funds, then you have capital projects, we have our special revenue funds, component, that's the EDC funds, thank you.
And then the enterprise fund. And
Yes.
then typically, what's in the enterprise fund? The
Water and sewer,
water and sewer, anything else?
no,
Trash?
no.
No? Where would trash fall?
The trash falls in the general fund.
In the general, okay. But if we were to take trash in-house, then it would be part of the enterprise fund, is that right?
Yes, that would be
Okay.
right.
So, on the enterprise fund, a deficit in those funds indicates a problem with our operating and our pricing, is that right?
Yes,
And that's what we're faced with here this year because of water losses, increased rates. And is the rate increase entirely based on the BWA, or is it also BWA plus the cost of Veolia?
it's both,
It's both.
plus taking into account the new added debt obligation,
For the water meters.
yes.
I'm sorry, repeat that last part?
For the water meters, the new added debt obligation for the fund,
That was how much, roughly?
300.
336 or something?
I believe so, let me double check.
So that water meter fund was as an expense, as you're saying, that 336?
It's a loan repayment, yes.
Okay. And the total loan amount, was that part of that 1.3, or is that part of something else?
Wait, what do you mean,
Well,
the
I'm thinking about the
1.3?
water meter installation
Hold on,
with
this is
Amoresco was 1.3 million.
No.
No, I think it was 3 point
It was
something.
3
I'm sorry,
something.
3.1. I got it
All of this
backwards.
is in the budget book, I'm
wish it
just
were.
trying to figure out what page.
And I'm just wondering if we're still within that budget of that 3.1.
Yes, we haven't expended everything.
Okay.
And we're 98% installed?
Yes, that's
All right.
correct. We've paid 50% of the project cost, and we won't pay the rest until it's all installed and closed out.
Okay. And so the only ways, so I see here the general fund generally should not make a transfer to cover the operating deficits. So the only alternatives are to raise rates, and if we do not raise rates, we do take it out of the general fund. I'm just trying to figure out how we can navigate these waters and so that everybody understands it.
I mean, ultimately, and Ashley can correct me, but it's got to come from a transfer or from fund balance. As a general rule, you would want to take it from fund balance if it's recurring. Obviously, this is recurring. We continue to go deeper and deeper into a hole.
Right.
You'd exhaust fund balance. If you're taking, you'll exhaust fund balance. If you take it out of the general fund, then you're sort of robbing Peter for Paul. Those monies can't be spent on other things like capital investment.
The
Right.
general logic and the way the principles are written is that a governmental fund is funded by public money, so taxpayer money. So that's something that benefits everybody. We can install a building and the entire community can benefit off that. Whereas an enterprise fund, it's operating on private entity use, essentially. So we would take public money and transfer it over to cover this deficit where individual users are gonna benefit from that instead of having to pay their increased costs to cover it. I don't know if that helps make sense. It's hard to
Yeah,
explain.
so let me see if I understand this correctly. So like in terms of just a good standard best practices for the city, we do not want to be taken out of the general fund to pay for any of these enterprise funds
That would be
deficits.
correct.
So, you know, we have this new meter, these new meters in place, 98% of the way in. And I'm just curious, how often do we pay toward the BWA water bill? Is that annually or is that monthly?
We're billed monthly. It's a contract price.
Okay, so we're billed monthly and we pay it monthly, so it's always up to date? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I was just curious if the new meters are generating more income legitimately, because I hear complaints that the new meters are too high. And so let's just say they're right. If they're right and they're generating more income, at the end of the year, we might actually be at a surplus in terms of that revenue, right? In terms of what we're expecting, what we're estimating for us to come in. So I guess what I'm saying is that if the new meters end up being closer and there's more revenue, say 400,000, which would meet this deficit, how do we handle that? Do we handle that in terms of you know, doing a budget increase to the citizens, or do we wait till the end of the year to see where that lays out so that we don't put that burden on the public, and then the money is there already in that enterprise fund?
So when I did the water bill analysis, Freeport still remains the cheapest. So that tells me off the bat our rates are very low because these neighboring cities have the same BWA costs. Now, granted, we have additional VLA costs that other cities don't have, but off the bat, that tells me that the rate is maybe not where it should be. Now, I proposed 10% and 20%, so it's not a huge increase at one time if that's the way y'all decided to go. We are seeing a little bit of increased revenue. When I had to adjust the revenue to balance it for adoption, I did take the average of the past 2 months. That's not at full install, but there was a little bit of an increase. I multiplied that out for the year to find that average price of maybe what we would be looking at, and then still took that deficit and figured out, okay, this is how much extra we're gonna have to generate. So there still is a deficit of some sort. Now maybe we start at 10% and revisit, but regardless, we have taken on that additional 20% from, or estimated 25-ish from both entities that we've taken at our expense since the rate was last. I don't know if she reviewed it last year or not, but.
So in addition to, and thank you for that explanation, in addition to pointing to increasing rates for residents, the other thing we could look at is selling more water.
That's true.
And so we're buying 2 million gallons a month of water. How much is that costing us?
We're buying 2 million a day.
2 million a day, excuse me, yeah. 2 million a day, and how much is that costing us? Approximately?
For the year, it is 3,358,000.
What do you mean for the year?
For the yearly cost.
Oh, the yearly cost, excuse
Yes.
me, yes, thank you. So that divided by 12 would be about,
I believe it's 262. I don't have the exact number on the top of my head.
let me double check it. $279, $280, yeah. And what percentage of the water are we using on a monthly basis as the city alone, not with anything sold, just the city?
I can update that BWA spreadsheet I started tracking, and we can look at that.
Because I thought the conversation was between the city and then when we were looking at providing water to Surfside, that we still had plenty of water left over to sell. And I
That
want to
would be
make sure that this is just there's a lot to talk about, but this is a segue onto how do we utilize the water that we're buying. Are we buying too much? Are we utilizing, are we maximizing the sale of that water? Are we considering all the conservation in case of potential droughts, all those things in considered? But there is a solution. But we gotta have that conversation. We can't just say, well, stick it to the residents. They're the ones that are getting it the cheapest. But let's also remind everybody else that the city of Freeport has the lowest average household income as well. So we don't want to stick it to the impoverished, which is about 65% of residents in Freeport. And so I want us to make sure that we're sensitive to that.
I am sensitive,
Yeah.
but also from a accounting point of view, looking
know.
at it as the business side, something has to change.
Yeah,
or-
well,
Or we're gonna be in big trouble.
yeah, no, I appreciate that answer. It's a great answer. So it's on us here to basically come up with a solution.
Our job is just to compile the information, make sure you fully understand it, and then it's up to y'all what y'all
Yeah.
decide.
So I'm hoping that we have that conversation going forward. And I think there was another slide you had at the end. It was slide 18. And then maybe it was the next one here, if you don't mind scooching one more, and one more. And so you have that in your talking point here. The city needs to explore selling more water to increase revenues. And the monitoring and the thinking. So I guess I just want to reiterate that right now, but as it stands now, going into the new fiscal year, the overall expense to the city that's going to have to be passed on to the residents is a total of what? Is that 566?
No, sir, it is the $1,108,830.
In the enterprise fund?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's a lot more than I thought we were talking about here. Do you have the slide that shows that 108, that 1.108, one more time, if you don't mind?
I don't think it's in this slide. I think this is from the last
Okay.
presentation, and then I made adjustments, so I just have the number to show how we had to adjust it to get it balanced.
Well, first of all, I'm placing zero blame on you for this. This is certainly something, though, I'm very happy that you brought to our attention. And no further questions, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Council, any other discussion or questions for Ms. Hurst?
I got one more. On the water, is it a contract, the way we're buying the water, or can we change how much water we buying at a certain point in time, or are we under contract to buy so much, this same amount of water that we're
We
buying?
have a 50-year contract, but I don't know all the clauses and exclusions. I don't know. I know y'all were looking over it. so-
Yes, we have a contract with BWA. We've agreed by contract to buy a certain amount of water.
How long is that last?
So-
Do that?
It was a 4-year contract starting at 87, so it ends in 2027.
So we got about, okay. Till then, we have to buy that same amount of water.
But you have to buy the same amount of water. If you want to reduce your water, you can only reduce your water if some other participating city agrees to buy your that portion, right? So if you like say, oh, we want to cut it, we're buying 2 million. I don't know exactly how much we're buying now. The original contract was 2 million. I don't know if it's changed.
Yeah.
So let's say we wanted to buy 500,000 less, right? We can't back out of the 500,000 unless one of the other cities in the BWA agrees to buy our 500,000.
Okay.
So BWA's, they have their overhead and their cost and everything, and they figured that into how much water they sell and their pricing, and so they don't want you to back out and then they're losing money, right? So they'll say you can reduce your water if another city is willing to buy your portion, right? Or if you want to buy more, if they have capacity, they'll sell you more, or you can buy it from another city. So it's not impossible to reduce, but you have to have other people to agree and play ball if you want to reduce.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you for that. Yeah, I was trying to figure out a way if we could cut back some of the water that we buy since we're not using all of that, and maybe we can make up some money that way. But So that'll be come up again in 2027. All right. Well, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Or we get the port to start using more water.
Their meters have not come online yet, so there's still a chance.
Council, any other questions or comments for Ms. Hurst?
Yeah, actually, can you repeat that comment? The ports meters are not online?
They don't have, the new meters haven't all been installed out there yet. So they're like in the last wave to get installed.
And that's part of the last 2%.
Yes.
When do
that's
we expect those to be back online?
right.
If I may, they're supposed to either be the end of this week or the first of next week. They should be coming back in town with all the stuff that's on backward.
For those of y'all out there that did not hear that, Rudy Regal said it's his understanding that the end of this week or the end of next week.
The meters were on back order.
I got you. I'm just wondering if we would have been wise to put all the heavy users first. So, and that begs the next question, and I think I know the answer, but I'll ask just for clarification. Is there different water rates for residents and businesses and the port and any other industrial user?
Yes, sir.
Do you know to what percentage?
They're posted online. I don't know a percentage amount. It's based on the type of consumer and the meter size.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Council, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you very much, Ms. Hurst. Next, we have 3C, a presentation by Mr. Kenneth Hayes discussing the city's role in the BWA water contract. Staying on topic here.
Evening, Mayor, City Council, and Mr. Pennington. BWA was formed in 1987 with all these member cities. All of you agreed at that time for these dollar amounts, these volumes that we're under right now as part of that original contract. Now, you might think that you really want to think about trying to sell more water. In the month of May, you used more than you have. You were 600,000 over. So you don't want to be short-sighted about water. It's the most precious thing we've got. And if you lost your contract, you might not get it again. Now, Angleton takes more water than City of Freeport. Lake Jackson takes the same amount. But everybody else has wells, but Freeport and Brazoria. They have no wells. All the water comes from BWA. So, we operate with like a $28 million budget. And after debt service, it's like 8% profit. But we're not taxing authority either. So all the cities, member cities, have a board member. Except the only towns around that didn't was Surfside and Jones Creek. They opted out in the very beginning. You can sell water to to Surfside, because you have a pipeline. But you can't sell to any of the other cities because you don't have a pipeline going to them. BWA sends water to our storage tanks. And that's it. Now you can haul it out in trucks if you want to, sell it, but I don't know. That would be kind of short-sighted too. We had one industry came in that was wanting to start at Surfside at Bridge Harbor, and it was going to take almost 50% more of the water that we use. So one industrial contract, one company could take more than what we've got excess right now. So we get 2 million a day, and I think we're using right at 48 million gallons a month, something like that's an average of what we're using. So you don't have a hell of a lot, you don't have a lot of gap there of what you're paying. So, every month the city pays $279,000 to the BWA. Like I said, the BWA is not making a lot of money. We're paying for the facility, and we're increasing it, and we're drilling 3 wells. We've got 3 wells drilled that we're going to be doing desal through our RO plant, but we got to wait for the RO plant to be finished. Now, the other desal plant that they were talking about here, somebody said a while ago, that's strictly for industrial water. That's not potable water they're not going to produce. So I'm here to answer any questions you've got about the BWA.
Council?
All right. So you brought up that we use more, and that was in May. Did you say May? Were we still sending water to Surfside in May?
No, I don't think we've sent water to Surfside since.
Months, yeah.
Since February.
Now, when we went over, I asked Rudy to look at it, and he said it was a water leak someplace
Yes.
they found.
Yes.
So-
And have you, do you have any info of the last time that ever happened, that we went over on water? I know it's possible, but, I mean, we brought up that one time, but do you have any recollection of
We've gone
any?
over more than once. But you've got to remember that if TECQ comes in to audit the city of Freeport, we might have to start buying more water, even if we don't use it. They require X amount of reserves for each city.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, we only have one pipeline that's going, and that's, water line, that's going to Surfside. And it goes nowhere, so it's nobody else to sell water to.
You sell it in trucks all day long
Besides
if you
selling
want.
the truck, besides selling the truck.
Unless you want to
Right.
dig a pipeline to jump
Well,
Creek.
so
or
we have to
someplace
make
else.
another pipeline. So, and we're not doing water to Surfside anymore,
No, but we can.
are we?
We currently are not, and that's their decision, not ours. And if they make a phone call and say, hey, we'd like to get back on board, then there's a possibility that it'll come back.
You
But
have to
I
remember,
also
that was
believe-
all profit. All that money was profit because you'd already lost the money because you bought it.
Yeah, because we had bought it. That's what I'm saying. So if we're not selling Surfside no more water, we're just looking a way to see if it was possible that we
There's
can
a
cut down.
caveat that I think they still owe us some money. Is that
Yeah.
right, Ashley?
Yeah, we haven't got can we get an update on that sometime? Not right now, but just. Okay, see, we need to hear about that and see what's going on with that.
Councilman, one other
So when
thing you
y'all
need
come
to
together.
think about is these reserves are made for times when we're having droughts.
Yes, sir.
You know, in the mid 2010 or something like that, we were having a bad drought. The state made us cut all of our allocations to cities, 80% of what they were getting. So Freeport could barely get by with 80%. And that can happen, you know. It's where we're increasing what we've got now with the BWA joining the Dow Chemical building the reservoir. Now, BWA is a 15% owner of that, and that's going to give Dow like 3 or 4 months water storage where they only have 30 days now, and help us too, because all the water comes out of the river, Raz River. If the saltwater wedge gets up there too far, they have to stop pulling it out. So then we strictly use water out of the reservoir that's set there.
Yes. Well, I appreciate your info and your knowledge on the water thing. So I'm trying to get, I've never been in the water, the BTFA. So I appreciate the information, and that's all I'm trying to get is information, because if it is a way to cut and help the citizens instead, like I want say we get $1.5 million, we're not trying to cut, a whole back to $1 million, because I know that's, but is there any way? I was just trying to see if it was any way, and and you brought up some good points.
Well, there's not any way until the end of that
until
contract.
27, right, till 2027. So if we ain't selling no water in 2027, then maybe that'd be something to look at.
Now, I'm not privileged to what the city sells, or how much revenue you bring in.
Right.
That's nothing to do with me. But I know that with the water rate of $4.97, I think that's what it's gonna be, that's 1,000 gallons. So you can't go to Buckley and buy 2 bottles of water for that.
Oh, yeah. The water's right.
So, I mean, you gotta put it in perspective of what you're getting with that. And we are one of the lowest rates in the state. There's places in the state that are paying 15, 20 times more than that for water.
You work for them?
No.
Oh,
the
I'm
board
just
rep.
asking.
I'm the
Oh.
board rep for BWA for Freeport.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to figure out if
No.
you worked out.
I came on the board in 2017. I'm the vice president now of BWA,
Okay.
and I'm the secretary of the Gransport Water Supply Corporation that's doing the
Okay.
reservoir up there.
All right. So, well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Like I said, I asked him to put it on the agenda because I could see there was a lot
Yeah.
of confusion.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it is. Yeah. So, but
When we exceeded our rate, that 600,000 or whatever number it was that you said, how does that work in the contract? Are we charged a greater rate for that overage?
no, if you do it like 4 or 5 months in a row, at the end of the year, we're gonna ratchet your volume up,
Okay.
but not because of one time, so.
So no harm, no foul on that one time?
Now, like I said, it was a water leak where you said they found, and that, like I said, that was a lot of water, so. A quick deal. But
yeah.
That brings up another good point. If you have another.
All right. I'm done.
I, looking at a headline, Surfside has paid off debt for water service. That was July 24th, headline in the local paper. But then you gotta read the fine print. They still owe us $60,000. And then you gotta read the fine print that they're not buying any more water. So that water there is freed up. And we really got to take a serious look. I'm not into fear mongering that, hey, in May, 600,000, that's going to be the, the sky falling there, Chicken Little mentality. I heard two things just a second ago. And that is that if it's a one-time instance, no harm, no foul. Mayor's words. But also, if you do it repeatedly, they reassess it, and I guess this is what's in the contract, that they'll go ahead and grow or increase the output to the city. Sounds to me that if we have the demand, that the contract in place is, and I understand that Mr. Hayes' role here is a volunteer liaison, but I fully expect city staff, city legal, city leadership, to be abundantly aware of what's going on within that contract. And though I appreciate Mr. Hayes' efforts and volunteer time, I want to make sure that I get all the facts right, that we all have them. Because when he's mentioning TECQ violations, we need to know that. And we not only do we not need to know it, I'm assuming you guys have all the triggers in place to red flag it for yourself internally so that then you inform the city. That's what the pros do, right? That's why we pay you guys the big bucks to do that, to understand what the TECQ rules are and regulations. But where I'm going with this is two things. Number one, if we should decide to cut back, especially since Surfside's not buying it, if we go to 1.5 million, let's just say that's a cost savings approach. It's not necessarily off the table because it's so dangerous and it's going to be hurtful to the city. We just found out that if we cut it back to 1.5 million, and then in 2026 we have all this development and growth that we need more again. It sounds to me like BWA will help to facilitate that. And it wasn't like that we were capped either, if it's my understanding in May, at our 2 million. That whatever water we needed beyond the 2 million was also provided. Is that correct?
we're not gonna stop serving
Okay.
the city.
So, yeah, so then basically, whether we go over that 2 million or not, or whether we go over that 1.5 million in the future, BWA isn't gonna stop.
No, but I
And
can tell you what
we
will
will pay
happen.
for it as needed. And so I kind of like the idea, just kind of big picture thinking here, just spitballing as we're looking at this here now, we're having this conversation, and it probably should be on the agenda for its own, that if we were to reduce it and save ourselves, you know, what does that come out to dollar-wise? We'd have to do the math. The 25% of 30, so that's probably about a good 400,000. Excuse me, 700,000. So we save ourselves $700,000 a month, and then 1 month in 2026 or 2 months in 2027, we have some overages. Well, we just foot the bill then, but at least we're not carrying all this excess. So that's the cut approach, right? The conservative approach. The other approach is we just have more customers, and what are more customers? More rooftops, more residents. So we should remind ourselves that a lot of these problems that we have here can be remedied by being as pro-development as possible for housing. That's all I have. Thank you.
One thing you have to understand, Councilman, if you lose the water, get it away, you might not get it back. BWA turns away people all the time, and we've only got X amount of water.
Well, that's why we have you to help us, right?
That's why the city has got these volumes to go by. If somebody else, if you dropped yours, Angleton's growing more than anybody. They've increased theirs almost twice now, and so is Clute.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
like I said, I can't guarantee you that if you dropped it to 1 million a day, that you'd ever get it back if you had the industry.
well,
Because
I don't want
we can
to.
only serve so much and
Yeah.
deliver so much water out of that plant.
My only response to that is that the city of Freeport is so pivotal to the county, to especially the industry, that is a multi-billion-dollar engine for the county. I really don't think the BWA is going to tell Freeport, no, sorry, you took it away. They're going to be constructive. Why? Because also built into the necessity of Freeport, the value of Freeport, is the reliance on Freeport for that water distribution, namely by the port as well.
Well, yeah, but Dow
yeah.
Chemical's not dependent on Freeport's water.
Yeah.
You know, we buy a lot of the water from Dow Chemical.
We're providing, my point is the water that we're sending over to the port and all of our industrial neighbors. So
We're not sending water to a whole lot of our industrial neighbors. That's what
Well,
I'm getting at.
Well, I will say that, you know, and again, the criticalness, the critical status of Freeport as it relates to this sector of the county is one that's going to always be preserved, I think. And I don't think they're going to ransom water over us or hold it over our heads. That's all I'm saying.
No, they won't, not unless you cut your volumes. If they cut your volumes, you're gone. So, now I've been on the board since 2017, and I give my updates to the city manager. And if he wants me to, and I asked him if I could get on there to explain to some of the stuff, because what I was hearing the last meeting, I knew we needed some clarification, so. But I give all my updates to the city manager, so.
Cool. Council, any other questions or comments for Mr. Hayes? Mr. Hayes, I appreciate what you do,
Okay, thank you.
and I appreciate you reaching out and volunteering to come up here and try to give some clarification. All right, moving on. Maybe. We have agenda item 5A, consideration and possible action approving a report by the city secretary regarding a petition filed on February 13, 2025 on behalf of the Freeport Police Officer Association, requesting a proposition be placed on the November 2025 ballot to be voted on for or against, to read, for or against adoption of the firefighters and police officers civil service law.
Mayor and council, on February 13, 2025, the city secretary received a petition from Hans Martusik, if I said that right, on behalf of the Freeport Police Officers Association to include on the ballot of the next uniform election date, November 4th of 25, a proposition to vote for or against the adoption of the firefighter and police officer civil service law. Section 143 of the local government states the municipality may hold an election to adopt or repeal this chapter as provided by this section. B says if the governing body of the municipality receives a petition requesting an election that is signed by a number of qualified voters of the municipality equal to at least 10% of the number of voters who voted in the most recent municipal election, the governing body shall order an election submitting to the voters the question of whether this chapter should be adopted. The election must be held on the first authorized uniform election date prescribed by Chapter 41, the Election Code, that occurs after the petition is filed and that allows sufficient time to comply with the other requirements of the law. Staff recommends the accepting of the report by the city secretary regarding the petition filed on February 13th of 2025.
Thanks, sir. Council, I will entertain a motion. Council, help me out here.
I just want to point out that under state law, whenever the petition is presented, with the necessary signatures, with the city, with the population over 10,000 people, that basically it's not a choice permissive. It's you shall order the election. So, and I've confirmed that with some other cities, with civil service agencies, and also with the state, that it's a mandatory that you order the election once the petition, if an acceptable petition is filed. Now, you may still say, well, no, if you're not in favor of it, whatever, you can still not make a motion, still not vote. Then the alternative then at that point would be there would have to be some court intervention if somebody wanted to file something with the court to require the election to occur. Yeah, the first sentence of that statute is a little bit misleading, and it says you may adopt the section. What that means is that there are some circumstances where the council could adopt it without an election. But if a petition is filed and the petition is sufficient, then it's required that the council order the election and give it to the citizens to determine.
Thank you for that clarification. With that being said, I am going to make a motion to approve agenda item 5A, and I'll ask for a second.
No second.
Seconded by Councilman Davis. Council, any questions or comments, discussion on this item? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay.
Nay.
Motion carried 4-1. Now, Clarissa was yelling at me over here. Y'all didn't see it on the camera, but she's telling me that I skipped over agenda item 4A. But little does she know that as the mayor, I can arrange these however I want once we get up here. So at this time, we're going to go over agenda item 4A. It is 7:14, and we're going to close the regular scheduled meeting and open a public hearing. Public hearing, updated proposed budget fiscal year 2025-2026. Ms. Hurst.
Since I already went through the presentation, we would just like to allow the public time to chime in on the budget. This is not the official public hearing. That will happen on the night that we adopt the budget, but we want to hear what they have to say. So if anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns, you can come speak and I'll try to answer.
Miss Oldham, I know you're chomping at the bit. Come on. No, nobody I know likes looking over the budget more than Miss Oldham.
Well, and I thank all of you all for looking closely at the budget this year. But I couldn't see everything. I could hear what Ashley was saying, but I'm trying to understand about our water department, and have we for years not been doing it correctly? We've been pulling money out of the general fund to cover that it was in the red. Is that what's been happening? I'm trying to understand. So this has been going on for a decade plus, is that right? Is there a new law or something that Ashley, no? Did you
I
just
will say
catch
this
it?
much while she's getting her microphone. In my prior city, there were actually transfers that were made out from the water and sewer fund into the general fund to pay for overhead that they used that they don't pay for. For example, water and sewer doesn't have a finance director, so they would pay a portion of her salary. They don't have an HR, so they would pay a portion, but we transferred about $3 million in Pasadena into the general fund. Here, it's been working backwards to plug holes. I know last year was a deficit. Ashley can tell you how much that was. This year is just compounded by the increases by both BWA, Veolia, and then on top of it, the meter payment. Go ahead, Ashley.
So a CFO's never caught this before?
So, can y'all hear me? Yeah. Okay. So when we met with council a few weeks back, we met at City Hall, and I did explain and I did a big budget graphic and broke down, and the budget that was adopted last year was adopted with a deficit because the transfer was listed underneath. So looking at it, the revenues and expenses looked fine, and then you took in that transfer line, it was adopted with a deficit. So I explained to council, hey, I saw this, I'm not comfortable doing that this way, this is not how it should be being done, this is how I propose we do it, this is how it needs to be done, and so going forward, we're trying to build that logic, we're trying to build a budget based on that logic. Additionally, the Water and Sewer Fund already has an outstanding payment, a loan from the general fund, so a few years back, the general fund transferred to subsidize, I'm unsure the notes on it, I haven't pulled council minutes, but for some reason the water sewer fund took out a loan from the general fund, and so $150,000 of the debt obligation is repayment of that loan also. So at this point, I'm trying to present all the information, build it the way it should be done, make sure the public's aware, and figure out how we get this fund going the right way, because it's not.
It's in what they call a structural deficit. So it's going to continue, it's going to get worse. You'll continue to drain at the rate if nothing changes. It gets worse. You keep bleeding off money from your general fund. Enterprise funds, anyone can tell you in any city, an enterprise fund its costs and revenues are supposed to offset. And then typically they make, like what Mr. Hayes talked about, a little bit of a return. 3-4% is what we were doing over in Pasadena. So, but yeah, at the current rate, you just see those rate increases. That was 1.2 million that's coming out that essentially the general fund absorbed.
So are there any other solutions other than upping our water rates again, 10%, 20%? Are there other options that y'all
Mr.
are
Pena
looking at?
mentioned some, and we're going to go ahead and evaluate them. We'll take a look at our usage rates. We'll take a look at what Surfside used and what's available. We'll look at all available options.
Okay, but for 10, 15 years, for whatever reason, they were pulling money out of the general fund to cover the water
Well, they
fund.
did, and the debt that Ms. Hurst talked about, obviously that was years ago, and then I know last year they took money out. So, before they probably had to have some type of surplus, and then slowly that surplus has just been whittled down because every time the rate increases, those weren't passed on to the users.
Okay. Wow.
We know it's not popular opinion to ever have a rate increase. That's not why it's even talked about tonight, but it's talked about tonight in the aspect of that it's going to continue to get worse if something isn't done to fix it.
And
So
one of
now's
our
the time
financial
to talk.
policies
Right.
state that we're supposed to bring this forward. I mean, so it's not like we're championing this. It is, like Ashley said, it's an uncomfortable conversation that we have to have. But we're just trying to be as transparent and put the cards on the table.
And like was mentioned, the citizens in Freeport, we're considered 65% or so low income, and the average income, I don't know, 64,000 or whatever. It's not very high. So that, I know some hard decisions are going to have to be made, on how to get the water fund out of the red, but also consider who your citizens are, your constituents. But
Yes, ma'am.
and then the last thing in BWA, years ago, I used to go to their meetings, and I appreciate Mr. Hayes, being our representative. But I understand in 1987, whenever all 7 cities signed 50-year contracts. But I think no matter what, we have to take that amount. I didn't understand if we could actually decrease it. I don't think we'd ever want to decrease it anyway, but I didn't know, Mr. Hayes, or if anybody understood, could we actually ask BWA to decrease the amount of water?
I think what he mentioned when he was up here is we could decrease it. There are some obvious, disadvantages maybe that come into play if we find someone to take our decrease. So it could be another player that's pulling off of that, Angleton or some other agency that might want to increase their lot. That may be an option.
But would that be temporary? Because, we're going to have another drought, and Dow Chemical has water rights to the Brazos River. So, again, I guess y'all have discussed, whether it's smart to give away any of the water we have. And then that incident, it happens very rarely, but I think in May is when Gladio had their big water leak. And that's why we went over. But that is pretty rare from what I understand. But thank you all for bringing this up.
Yes, ma'am.
I actually have a comment off of Ms. Oldham's question there, and that is, so at the end or last year's budget, Ms. Hurst, the accounting was done incorrectly, and I appreciate you guys bringing forward, the tough news. That's what we ask for. We can't fix it if we don't know what it is. But so the question was, it was done last year, and we confirmed that it was done last year the wrong way, where it wasn't really done properly for us to even know it, that it was done incorrectly. And so we have an audit company coming in, seeing if we're doing this compliance-wise, or TECQ is, if we're doing it all the right ways. And I'm just kind of surprised that yet again, here I am sitting on a council seat, and I'm learning that our auditors didn't flag this. And that for that matter, it wasn't reported to council. And if it was, this councilman did not hear it. So I'm also curious if those same practices, illegal, it sounds like, certainly not professional and transparent, were done in any other years prior to, if you've had a chance to audit them or to do your own forensics on it, to just say, oh yeah, they did it wrong last year, 23, 24, 22, 23, 22, 23, because that kind of like fuzzy accounting is exactly why we're here, because nobody caught it enough to make the right decisions then. And so I always say, I don't know why previous staff just didn't own up to your problems. I mean, that's a sign of leadership, owning up to the problems that you're responsible for. And so I appreciate you guys coming forward with this here tonight. But I would like to know if, in fact, those terrible covering up of their mistakes practices were done, and how far back and what years, if you can find that out, if that information's available to you.
Sure. When we prepared for meeting with y'all, and for me to give the educational infographic and kind of explain the way the balanced budget works, so I only went back 2 years just due to time constraints, but Chief and I felt it was very imperative that we tried to educate, as we felt, someone that's not in the accounting world maybe doesn't necessarily know how to read it when they're looking at those lines, and maybe that's what happened last year. But we did bring it up at that meeting, saying, hey, well, last year was not right, and I will definitely go back and look at those other years to see.
Yeah, I'd be curious, at least back to 2020, which was the first year I was on, and I think Jerry was here in 2019, number one. But also, I'd like to know who the auditors that were here that blessed that, and that we really moved to not use them again. And again, appreciate you guys coming forward with this. I mean, we can't heal the wound unless we, pull off the Band-Aid and see what's underneath. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Oldham?
Mayor Kane, like you mentioned, I've always been interested in city budgets, and I just like to look through them. But I also look at the audits every year, and the auditors, they look at the EDC budget and the city budget, and in both cases, there's been things they said that are pretty, I forget the term, serious lack of internal controls.
Material.
There you go. And it lays it out step by step, and the fact that, how long do they allow these lack of internal material weaknesses or whatever to go on and not inform you all that something needs to be done early on? If I can read through the audit and say, oh my gosh, again, they're giving them another chance to fix this. But, why something, a good CFO like we have now should be able to have fixed that a long time ago.
Thank you.
That brings up another question. Do we have, I know at times there's been this back and forth whether the CFO for the city is going to be in charge of the EDC finances, and I'm curious if that's the case now where you're able to review their financials and to see whether or not they're doing it correctly.
Yes, theirs is being done correctly. Their fund balance was misstated, and we corrected that. I presented that to their board maybe back in December.
So you found it, you found the mistake, but
Yes.
was there a pattern of misreporting as well through the EDC? I see some head nodding in the audience. So I would definitely like to include that as part of the review, because at the end of the day, what is it, what was that section? There was the enterprise, government, CAT, special revenue. What was the other one?
Gonna be
Component. And if the component monies out of the EDC are not being managed right, we need to make sure that we shine a bright light on that and see who's mishandling it and why, and hold anybody and everybody accountable on that. So, thank you. I'll be making some more questions on that later.
Ms. Stancy, did you have a question? Come on up to the mic.
I just want to say that even from the last meeting, Miss Ashley, I'm starting to get a little bit more confidence in what you're doing, because we had been misled with Kathy on several things and not paying the employees taxes and so forth, and us being fined and her stashing money and all sorts of things, and everybody knows it. But the point is that I'm starting to really get more confidence with what's happening today, and I'm having more confidence with you as well from what has happened in the past, starting with Kelty. Well, we can go back further than that, but and it makes us feel like we're finally getting more transparency, because we can take a hit. If y'all make a mistake, because everybody does, if you just tell us, then we'll say, okay, well, you might get a little bit of this, but overall, we'll be grateful that you're honest with us. And because that's what we're looking for. And we've talked about it and talked about transparency, and it hadn't been there. And Melanie's right. I went to that trial too. I'm getting off balance just to see what was going on, and it was wasted money. But anyway, I want to give you a push-up, because I like it when you can admit where a mistake is made and we can overcome that. And I hope it continues. Now, the water, what I don't like, I'm not downing you or anything, but when anybody gets up here and says, well, I'm looking at other cities, I'm looking at what other cities are doing. Well, other cities are a lot larger than us, and they have more revenue than what we do. So I would, like I said, somebody to say, yeah, I'm looking at other cities, even though Freeport is smaller than other cities, but instead the terminology kind of makes it like, oh, well, they're doing this, so Freeport needs to do this and do that. When actually Freeport should not have to do that because we are smaller than other cities. I just want to point that out. And I'm glad you're on board. I'm liking the interaction you're giving us. And
Thanks.
it's good to see Mr. Duncan here. And also, somebody made a comment at the last meeting about Mr. Duncan, and actually it was a false statement. Because if you go back and see who was involved in that, which was Brimage, that's all you have to say.
I appreciate that, but that's not part of the budget
Yeah.
hearing.
Thank you.
That's
But
on the
anyway, thank you
agenda.
for what you're doing.
You're welcome, thank you.
Good job. You got anything?
All right. Anybody else in the public wanting to speak on the budget?
Can I ask that question?
Yes, sir.
Ashley, the auditor, when they turn it in, who do they turn it in? Who's responsible for relaying the message to us?
They're bringing it to y'all. They come do a presentation at council when the audit's complete.
Okay.
The audits are also, if you, not just y'all, but the public too, but if anyone ever wants access, they're posted on the website.
Okay. All right. Well, now we're getting a better breakdown and a picture of what all of that means. So that's it. I just want to know who do they really.
All right. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? 7:32, we are going to close this public hearing and reconvene into open session of our regular scheduled city council meeting. We're going to skip 5A because we already did that one and go on to 5B. Consideration and possible action approving ordinance number 2025-2739, calling for a special election to be held on November 4th, 2025, for the purpose of submitting to the qualified voters of the city of Freeport a proposition providing for or against the adoption of the firefighters and police officers civil service law, providing for a joint election on November 4th, 2025, with other entities, contracting with Brazoria County for such joint election, providing for election precincts and polling places, providing for repeal, providing for severability.
Mayor and council, as you said, this ordinance orders a special election for the city of Freeport to be conducted on November the 4th, 2025, for the purpose of allowing qualified voters to vote for or against the adoption of the firefighters and police officers civil service law. The ordinance outlines the procedures, ballot language, polling locations, and administrative requirements for the election. Staff recommends approval of the ordinance calling a special election to be held on November 4th, 2025, to submit to the voters the proposition regarding adoption of the firefighters and police officers civil service law pursuant to Chapter 143 of the Texas Local Government Code.
Once again, council, I will make a motion to approve this and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Rosso. Any discussion, questions, or comments on this?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Chris, is this the same thing as the other one? Not, it's required?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's required by state law that once the petition is filed, y'all have to pass the ordinance to call the election.
All right, thank you.
I have another comment. You also made another comment that we could table it so that we could have more time. We don't necessarily have to vote on it. Is that correct?
You always have the option to table. However, and I haven't looked at the calendar and the schedule, but in order to have the election in time by November, there are certain deadlines to get on the ballot. I'm not familiar with what those deadlines are, but if you table it, you run the risk of going past those deadlines. I think it's 60. I believe, off the top of my head, I believe it's 60 days prior. So there may be time to table and bring it back at the next meeting if that's what council desires.
Well, let me just say thank you, because that was my next question. We got to reverse engineer the timetables, number one. But my larger concern is, why are we doing this? And I you know, I wanted to ask this question on the first one here to table it, but we got the vote there. So, you know, in the spirit of solidarity with our first responders, I wanted to make sure that I convey that I do support our first responders, but we also got to make sure that we take care of our community at large. And I know that I have received no good reason from any other municipal leadership about having a civil service in any of their cities. However, I know that the city of Freeport Police Department had unionized because they had very good reasons to unionize. But the thing about it is that what ended up happening back in February or late January was that we were surprised with this unionization, and then come to find out what that was all about. Their frustration with the city leadership. And so now that that city leadership is gone, I will just say this. Back in February, I asked that we have a meeting with the police association and the representatives that put this petition together. And I'm asking for that meeting again so that we might be able to decide whether or not this is even necessary. And to give what seems to be a new day, a new chapter. We have qualified individuals, as in Mr. Pennington and also Mrs. Hurst. And so I would like to request that the councilman reconsider their motion to pass this and table it so that, in fact, we can have that dialogue with the police officers and the association representatives responsibly, and not put this out to the public to vote and then have it to be really an unnecessary vote. And you know, and if there's time to do that, let's make the best of that time, best use of this time, because like everything else, there's no sense in having us hurry this up, especially when it's something as critical as this. So I would like to ask if council would like to reconsider that at the table, if in fact there's enough time. And if it's November 6th, 60 days before that is September 6th. So we have a whole month ahead of us here to at least have a meeting with council and the association leadership and both sides of legal, and decide really what's the best path forward. So I just wanted to make mention of that and ask if they would retract their motion.
Okay, under state law, the mechanism is that, you know, state law and the charter with regard to petitions. Once the petition is completed and turned in, there is a procedure that people can withdraw their signature of a petition. I'm not sure if since it's already been filed, I don't know if it's too late for them to withdraw or change that and undo the petition or not. So that's a answer to a question I don't know off the top of my head. I just know there is a procedure that if you sign a petition and then you change your mind, there's ability to withdraw your signature. So if your hope is to try to convince some of the folks that signed the petition to withdraw their signature, that would be a possibility, although I have to check and see if it's too late because it's already been turned in.
Council, any other questions or comments? You know, I echo what Councilman Pena said. I have not spoke with many people that think this is a good idea for the city. And by voting on this does not necessarily mean I'm going to vote for it on the ballot, nor does that mean I'm pushing for people to vote for on the ballot. But this is a petition that was signed by the citizens of Freeport. So if there's not any other questions or comments, I'm going to call the vote.
Well, I have to say the same too. You know, I've talked to other officers and from other cities, and nobody said that this was a good thing for Freeport. But I mean, like I said, they already signed it, you know, so it's be up to the citizens to make the decision on it. But like I said, I'm gonna have to vote for it because they turned it in, and we're gonna turn it over to the citizens. But I don't agree with it either.
Council, anyone else? Hearing none, I'm gonna call the vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Councilman Matamoros being the nay. Have agenda item 5C, consideration and possible action approving ordinance number 2025-2740, amending sections 48.320 and 48.321 of the code, and adding section 48.326 to specify the due date of payments, implementation of a late fee and disconnection fee, and disconnection dates and procedures to establish better practices. Ms. Hurst.
Yes, sir. This ordinance would provide the needed provisions to establish solid utility billing practices within the department. As the city continues to evolve the utility billing department, these procedures being specifically set forth in the code would leave no room for billing uncertainties. Additionally, this would allow for the creation of the utility billing policy document that outlines all of the policies and procedures for utility billing, again leaving no room for uncertainty. The item came about after a previous review was discovered that utility billing had not been operating with procedures that aligned with the current code. By approving the ordinance, indisputable billing practices would be set forth. This would allow for better practices within the city in the future. The ordinance set forth specific dates for current processes. Sorry, I cannot read tonight. So there's no change in procedures for customers as previously the dates weren't specific or are currently not specific in the code, and they're left up to interpretation. My interpretation is different than what the current policies are. So we wish to establish this ordinance that sets forth the processes the way we're doing them now. Good gravy. This creates the black and white to establish accountability, which is our main goal. Okay, now I'm done.
And we appreciate you doing this. Council, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'm going to make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-2740, amending sections 48.320 and 48.321, and adding section 48.326 as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second? I will second it. Any discussion, council?
Yeah, I have a couple questions here. What are the dates, due dates and lates and fees? Can you expound on that for the public?
The due date of the bill is on the 5th. Currently, the code reads the late fee would be added the 6th, or it's left up to interpretation. It would be the 6th. We actually don't add it until the 12th. A late fee, a penalty notice will be mailed out by the 13th. If payment is not received by the 20th, a $40 penalty fee is added, and then the morning of the 21st, it goes out for disconnection. That's the current processes. Nothing would be changing.
So it's due the 5th, it's late the 6th, they make a payment on the 10th. Are they paying any penalties?
No.
The day they pay a penalty is what day?
The 13th. It goes on their account, well, at 4 p.m. on the 12th.
$40?
$10.
$10. Let me write these dates down.
None of the amounts are changing. I think the code actually says after the 5th day, the current code right now, after the 5th day, the late fee applies. So does that mean immediately on the 6th day? Does that mean on the 7th, the 8th?
Right.
So this is just to clear it up. It'll be on the 12th.
On the 12th day.
And that's the way it's been handled.
Yeah.
She's just getting practice and policy in line.
Okay. So they'll have a late fee on the 12th.
Yes, the 12th at 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
And then, what's the $40 fee? What day is that one?
Disconnect.
The 20th at 4 p.m.
And that's, I'm gonna add, and that's the same as well. None of the fees are increasing.
Correct.
Yeah, the 5th and the 6th threw me off. Like,
So it's
you
due the
thought you
5th,
gonna
but
charge me on the 6th.
well, it's
I
due
thought
the
you were gonna
5th,
charge them
but
on
we
the
get a
6th.
whole grace week period of a week before we charge a late fee.
Right, that's what I
So-
say. I heard this say, I'm like, damn, we're gonna charge them the next day?
No.
Okay, yeah,
No,
I wanted to clear that up.
We discussed that last month.
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
decided no.
but want to clear that up for
Yes.
everybody's watching and the citizens out there, because they're hearing, 5th and
Nothing
6th too.
changes at all. The only thing is if something happens to me or the supervisor in the department tomorrow and they have to hire someone else, they can come in, read this code, and know exactly what to do. I didn't have that luxury, so this
Right.
would be great.
This was the date that y'all had talked about, showing a little compassion to the residents.
Well, it's a little
Yes.
bit like when you pay your rent, right? Your rent's due on the 1st, but it's not late till the 5th kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The water bill's due on the 5th, but you don't have a late fee until the 12th.
Well, I like the 7-day grace period.
Yeah.
No further questions.
Isn't that, I'm sorry, but isn't that what it says actually on the water bill itself? I believe it says payments on the 5th, and then I think on the 12th, if you don't pay them till the 12th, then you get $10 fee.
So currently on the bills, when we print them, we have to input the dates, so it's us putting the dates in.
Yeah, I'm just saying like.
But
Yes, that's correct. Nothing's changing. It's business as usual. We just need it written in the ordinances. So if there's a massive turnover tomorrow, those business practices don't change because someone else can come in and find how they're doing
I
it.
got you, I just didn't want senior citizens to be confused.
No, nothing changes at all. This is an internal thing.
council, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks again, Ms. Hurst.
Thank you.
Agenda item 5D, consideration and possible action to set the public hearing for the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget.
Staff recommends holding the public hearing for the fiscal year 25-26 budget on Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, with adoption on the same date. On July 21st, the interim city manager and finance director presented the proposed budget for the fiscal year 25-26. It was then filed with the city secretary and posted on the city website as required by local government code, section 102.005. Per section 102.006 of the local government code, the city must hold a public hearing on the proposed budget. Any person may attend and may participate in the hearing. The governing body shall set the hearing date for a date occurring after the 15th day of the date the proposed budget is filed with the municipal clerk, but before the date the governing body makes its tax levy. Notice of this hearing was made in compliance with section 102.005B of local government code.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst. Council, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to hold a public hearing for the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget on Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments needed on this, gentlemen?
Yeah, this is, the second is on a Tuesday, and the reason it's on Tuesday is because the Labor Day is on Monday.
The first is a holiday. I think that was an item earlier tonight that was approved.
And I've said this before, the attendance is so much lower and participation is so much lower right after a holiday. Is there a date after this that we still have time to do that hearing?
I would recommend we try the second if y'all feel it needs to happen again. Maybe we regroup. I also feel that the public's had a lot more input this budget cycle than typical, so maybe we'll be okay, but regardless, the budget has to be adopted by September 15th.
By September 15th.
Yes, sir.
That was my next question.
Well, I agree, there's no sense in waiting until the last minute if we don't have to. So council, any other questions or comments for Ms. Hurst? Here,
We can hold a special meeting too, right? We've held special meetings on these before. So if we should decide that on the first or the second, rather, we can do it that. All right, thank you.
so I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed state nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Councilman Pena being the nay. We have agenda item 5E, consideration and possible action to approve resolution number 2025-2942, amending the City of Freeport's investment policy. Ms. Hurst.
Chapter 2256 of the Texas Government Code, also known as the Public Funds Investment Act, requires annual review of the city's investment policy and requires a resolution approving any changes. The only change being proposed in this is changing the list of authorized investment officers to accurately reflect the current positions. It would remove the assistant finance director and replace it with a staff accountant. The purpose of the city's investment policy is to provide direction for investing the funds of the city of Freeport and to comply with Chapter 2256 of the Texas Government Code, which requires that each entity to adopt a written investment policy regarding the investment of its funds and any funds under its control. The investment policy addresses the methods, procedures, and practices that must be exercised to ensure effective and judicious fiscal management of the city's funds. Staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Council, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-2942, amending the City of Freeport's investment policy as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Rosso. Any discussion needed, gentlemen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious why we think this is a good idea to have a staff accountant be a signatory on authorized investment officers.
This doesn't change, this isn't changing any of the bank signatories or anything like
It
that.
doesn't? Okay. What exactly is it authorizing them to do?
They're required to take a 10-hour training to be an investment officer. She is a designated investment officer, and the assistant finance director was my previous position. It no longer exists, so she helps me prepare the reports.
So it allows the, I guess, a qualified person to do those reports?
That's correct.
Okay. And I guess the next question I have is does this require us to also expand, it goes to, it's a two-part question, our bonding requirements for our accounting department?
She has no access to the bank account or any financial decision. She's only able to help with the reporting.
Okay. And that leads to my other question here. Are we properly bonded at the CFO and city manager position currently?
Yes, and the city secretary as well.
At what amounts?
200 for you.
I think that's right.
Yes, I believe mine's 150. I can double check and let you know.
Okay. I recall we had a conversation that when the Covarrubias incident occurred, the insurance needed to be at 1 million, the bonding for the city manager and the CFO
That
because of that.
was not the directive I was told, but I can
Yeah.
check.
I remember that conversation vividly because I was the one that exposed that. But I don't have any other further questions, Mayor.
Anyone else, council? I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item 5F, consideration and possible action approving ordinance number 2025-2741 for budget amendment number 1 for fiscal year 2025.
The proposed budget amendment offsets expenditures through excess revenues in the general fund. The overall net impact of the general fund is 0. This amendment also allocates carryover project costs from various funds. In the Main Street Department, it helps move excess salary from the museum manager position over to the Main Street budget and allocates the amount for what would be needed for the remainder of this fiscal year regarding that salary. In the Municipal Court Department, it adds additional expenses to the credit card fee line item. Those charges were being expensed previously to the wrong department. I found that mistake and corrected it. The result is that this department didn't originally have enough budgeted for it. The additional expense will be offset by excess revenue and miscellaneous income. The Emergency Management Department needs funding added to cover a fuel-related charge that the department had. The expense would be offset by excess revenue and miscellaneous income also. The Facilities and Grounds Fund needs to allocate the city match amount for generator grants that council approved on June 2nd. This also allocates rollover project cost for fire and golf from the 2023-2024 budget years. Some of the expense can be offset by excess revenue and interest income. The remaining amount would be offset by the fund balance. The State Narcotics Chapter 59 Fund. This allocates the city overage for the ballistic shield grant and the vehicle radio grant that council approved on February 18th. The majority of those costs can be offset by excess revenue and interest income. The remaining amount would be offset by the fund balance. The Water and Sewer Fund, this would allocate grant expenses to the fund and offsets the expenses with the grant revenue. The Port Projects Fund, this allocates expenses for rollover project cost from 2024 for the soccer field, the Port Lift Station project costs, as well as the wastewater treatment plant improvement project cost. These expenses would be offset by the fund balance. And the Vehicle and Equipment and Port Projects Funds would have a reclass to move the Port Lift Station overage project cost from the Vehicle Equipment Fund to the Port Projects Fund as approved by council on May the 5th. I would recommend approval of the budget amendment and ordinance.
Council, I ask for a motion.
Mayor, I'm going to make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-2741 for budget amendment number 1 for the fiscal year of 2025.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Davis. Normally towards the end of the year, we have a budget amendment similar to this, which is basically to clean up stuff that happened throughout the year. And I assume that's what we're looking at right here.
Yes, I do think that there will probably be one more just because we didn't have one all year. So as we get closer to the end of the year and get a true look, I would imagine something else coming up.
You know, it's to me kind of amazing that this is budget amendment number 1. So the first budget amendment we've done all year. You know, that's incredible. In the past, I've seen it to where we did budget amendment number 1 before the end of the year when the budget just starts on October. So great work on that. Council, any questions or comments?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would say that the reason why it's the first one so late in the game is because we've had staff turnover and we've had to basically clean house. So, but I'm glad you've done the work here, Ms. Hurst. What's the total amount that the overage is on that salary for the museum director?
We would be moving 20,000 from museum to Main Street.
So the excess that we're talking about is a total of $20,000,
Yes.
and it's being distributed throughout all of these various departments.
The various line items for Main Street.
But in the end, the total dollar amount that we're talking about that's being used to fill in all these gaps is $20,000.
No. You said for the museum or the Main Street
Oh, I'm
position, so
sorry.
that was only the 20,000 for that.
Okay, so what's the total amount that we're talking about that's filling in the gaps for all these various departments?
For the general fund would be a net zero effect.
No, I understand, but I guess let me rephrase this question here. This money here that we're putting into all of these various departments, before we put any nickel in there, if we were to decide to put it back into the general fund, what would that dollar amount be?
For the general fund would be $50,270.
So basically, you have the municipal court, emergency management, facilities and grounds and fund, state narcotics, water sewer fund, port projects fund, and the vehicle equipment. They're all basically sharing $50,000.
No, that would be for the general fund.
That's my question. What are
I
they?
don't
what
have
are-
a
I guess
dollar
the
amount
question.
for each.
Yeah, that's my
fund.
question here, is how much are we really talking about that we're actually gap filling in because of mismanagement of those accounts or those particular departments? I'm just, or for that matter, just shortages or unforeseen expenses, whatever you want to call them. I'm just trying to understand what this dollar amount is that we're saying, okay, a big whoopsie, let's go ahead and fill it in, because we just had that big whoopsie conversation about the water. And then you're saying, well, we might have another one here too in a couple of weeks. So raises a lot of red flags.
I don't think they're whoopsies. I think we have a lot of grant projects, a lot of rollover projects that weren't, the encumbrances were not budgeted. A lot
Correctly.
of this amendment right here is specifically for that. It's all items council's already approved.
Right.
We just never brought it for that formal amendment to make those budget reports look correct.
Council approved these, but yet we're doing an amendment. I'm confused.
This is a formal amendment, and an ordinance has to be passed to formally amend the budget if it's not.
No, I understand that.
These-
I'm just wondering if council already approved these budgets, why we're doing an amendment?
Well, I think she's also referencing that council approved some of those projects. Projects ran over, construction costs, whatever it is, they run over. So this is really the difference between what was budgeted and what the true costs.
I got you.
And
Just trying to shore it up.
some went over, some went under.
And so if I'm looking at page 225 on the agenda, and we look at museum, how much are we giving museum?
We're not giving them anything. We're
I think
taking
it's taking 20
20,000.
from them,
We're
yes.
taking out, how much?
20,000.
And I'm
And it's
okay, there it is.
covering Main Street costs.
And then when you go down there for municipal court, it's 30,000?
Yes.
Putting in or taking out?
Adding.
Adding. Service center, adding 20,000?
Yes, that's correct.
And parks, adding 14,000?
Yes, that's correct.
And fire, 192,000?
Yes, those are the local matches for generator projects. The fire is a rollover project from 2024.
All right. I think I get it. Thank you.
Council, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you all.
You get to get out of here now, don't you?
I'm still here, but I don't have to stand up there.
Thank you for all the hard work. Agenda item 5G, consideration and possible action awarding the bid to Mallard Underground Utilities LLC for the Insta Valve installation projects. Mr. Regal.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. We have a Insta Valve program that we've looked at. We've got a grant for. I'll be reading off here. Staff recommends awarding the bid to Mallard Underground Utilities LLC. The city solicited bids with RFP number 2025-03 from June 13th, 2025 to July 17th, 2025 for an Insta Valve installation at various locations within the city. The city received 4 responses. One was from Branch Construction Group for $358,944. One from Mallard Underground Utilities, LLC at $246,280. Mercer Construction at $346,550. And Metco Engineering at $800,000. Some background information on this project. This project is awarded an amount from the agreement with the Brazoria County CDBG. The city submitted an application for $220,000, with $8,000 of that being matched by city funds. The city will reimburse $212,000. The project will provide the installation of 19 valves that oscillate the water system to reduce interruption of services during emergencies. These valves will be used for betterment of the city's entire water system, as currently a large group of customers have interruptions during repairs because leaks we cannot currently shut down the water mains on. The financial impact for this, the bid is for $246,280, of which the county will reimburse $212,000. This will leave the city with a total amount of $34,280 to fund. Staff is proposing this amount be reallocated from the sewer line replacement project, SSOI project, in the utility bond fund number 67.
Council, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'm gonna make a motion to award the bid to Mallard Underground Utilities, LLC for the Insta Valve installation project.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Councilman Rosso. Rudy, I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Just for a little bit of clarification. So this means we put these in and we have a water main leak somewhere. There's a good possibility we can isolate the citizens that are affected by this said water leak as opposed to the whole city shutting down.
That was our goal in design, yes, sir.
Well, I certainly hope you meet your expectations on this.
Granted, there's still a lot more that needs to be done, but there was a grant available, and this is what it would allow us to
And
do.
we got to start somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Now, it's my understanding the city has very few, if any, that still work.
There's a lot of outdated stuff, yes, sir.
Good. Council, any other questions or comments for Rudy?
Yeah, thank you for your grant hustle. You know, whoever got the grant for you. All right. Oh, there you go. There you go.
I'm just
All right.
presenting. She's done a lot
Ashley,
of work on this.
she just came in and like a light go boom. Yeah, we thank God for Ashley. And I'm excited to see we got some bids. 4 bids. So we did our homework. Appreciate the effort.
Got a lot of input from the utility operations manager on this project also.
Yeah, I think it's well needed. Thank you.
Rudy, have y'all worked with this company before?
Yes, Veolia has actually worked with Mallard, and the city has actually contacted Mallard to do some work before. They've actually put in one Insta Valve, and I've been in this business for 24 years. And some of the Insta Valves, you don't get a good quality Insta Valve. The one they're actually putting in has got an actual gate where it's reusable.
Oh, good.
Council, any other questions?
Yeah, I was curious, you mentioned Veolia had used them before.
Yes, sir.
Are we obligated to bid this out to Veolia too, this line of work, under the agreement that we have with Veolia currently?
That I do not know. I know that I'd worked with Veolia originally to get a price on this, and the contractor they had gotten a price from is also, they're in partnership on one of these bids. I believe. Oh, yes, it is public bid too also.
Okay. The second thing I would be curious about, it said, you did say we did have a previous engagement with Mallard, and when was that?
I'm not sure. I know that they've done they did one for VLE, actually called them in, and they did it over behind Gerard's.
You know when that was?
It's been about, yeah, it was around October of last year.
What was the extent of that work?
It was a valve, Insta Valve.
About work, okay. And who did the due diligence on Mallard this time around?
Oh, Nick called and checked all the references.
Okay, so we checked the references, we
Yes,
checked
sir.
the bonding too and insurance to verify
Yes,
that
sir.
it's
all been checked
it's
out.
legit, it's viable,
Yes, sir.
executable. All right, no
Hang on,
further
I think
questions.
I missed something in here too, because I know it was in here. Right here, I'm sorry. The city has previously had an exceptional experience with Mallard Underground LLC, and they were the lowest bidder for the projects. Additionally, they have done similar projects, and the references, insurance was double-checked by staff.
And that note was for this time around?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Good work, thank you. No further questions, Mayor?
Thanks, sir. Council, anyone else?
Rudy,
Yes, sir.
the sewer line replacement project, is that 100% complete?
Is the project itself complete? I believe that, as far as monies, the payouts, I think there's a little bit of warranty work that's still coming out. But I believe as far as the monies go, that it's complete on payout, correct?
In the financial reports, I did notice that there was leftover money in this project, so that's why I had recommended we could reallocate that portion from it.
Okay. So it's not complete yet, they're still doing warranty work?
There's a little bit of warranty work left to do.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking that is, one, I wanted to make sure that we're not expending funds that we may need to utilize at a future date. But also, there is a resident in my ward that is having an issue that it still has not been resolved, and we're going on over a year. And so I want to make sure that we don't finish giving them their funds without everything being done correctly.
And I believe those have been documented and sent back to them, and they're also with the engineer too.
Okay.
Council, anyone else? I will call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye.
Yes.
All opposed state nay.
Thank you.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Rudy.
Good job, Rudy.
Get a workout.
Brings us to agenda item 5H. Consideration and possible action approving the proposed 2025 annual street lighting plan. Ms. Kramer.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Staff comes to you tonight requesting an approval for the proposed light locations of the 2025 illumination light plan with center point for streetlights. And in your packet, there should be a map showing the proposed locations. They were run by the police department and the night patrol to verify that areas that were dark were included. And I think that we only added one from their input. So we're seeking your approval and moving forward.
It's really hard to see.
Mayor, I'm going to make a motion to table this because there are some locations that I would like to see changed within Ward C to better reflect my residents.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to table by Councilman Matamoros, seconded by Councilman Pena.
And can we get a larger copy as well? I mean, I got old man eyes. And so I'd like that. Yes, thank you so much. Oh, man, I was here at 50.
Is this time sensitive? No.
Is it?
No.
Oh. Yeah, no.
So we have a motion to table, motion by Councilman Matamoros, seconded by Councilman Pena. Gentlemen, I would encourage you to spend the next couple weeks, 15 days. No, it's not until the next go around that we have an extra day because of the holiday. So next 2 weeks, I'm sorry, August 18th. Come back with what you want to add to it or take away from it. You will notice there's not a whole lot of lights on this list in Ward B. You better get out there and start.
Hey, well, that's what I was going to say, because last time we only got 2-3 lights, and when I just got here.
You need to work on
I
that.
said it wasn't going to happen this year.
Well, your
And
ward is pretty well covered, so you started off in a really good
But
spot.
yeah, but I just wanted to look over it. I was like, cause I remember last year when I first got here, I was like, we got the less lights, and I said, so I wanted to look and see what was going on. I'm sure y'all did a good job.
Yeah, there's,
you know.
on that map, you'll see the ones that are currently installed, the ones that are coming in for 2024, and then the proposed in red for 2025.
Yeah, but I would just like to be able to take a look at it and just put my eyes on it and see. It's not time sensitive, so okay, thank you. Well, I'll be ready next week.
Okay.
And nothing against you, nothing against you.
No, I know.
So council, I encourage you to bring it back next meeting with the changes that you want to add or take away or what have you. Councilman Pena, you looking like you had something to say.
No, I'm going to go ahead.
Come on.
Well, I was going to, well, now that you pushed me on it, I was going to say the reason Councilman Davis's ward didn't have any lights required is because the last two councilmen were the mayors, and they got all the lion's share of the lights. That's why you don't need any more.
So with that, we're going to call the vote. All those in favor to table state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 5I, consideration and possible action to approve contract renewal for disaster and/or storm monitoring services. Roston Solutions, is it Roston?
Roston, yes, sir.
Solutions LLC, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract after review by the attorney. Chief Motley.
Yes, sir. I'm bringing before you, this is part of an extension on a 5-year contract. We initially starts with 3 years and then renewal for the last 2 years of that. And they also have the option of adding the CPI to it. This is one of the probably 15 years, 20 years I've ever had to bring the CPI before. Normally the mayor signed the next agreement and we rolled on. So Roston has asked for continuation by letter to move forward with the last 2 years of the existing 5-year contract with a 5% increase on CPI. And that was over the last 3 years. They provided the data, and the data was included in your packet as well. So my recommendation is for extension of the 2-year contract on the original award bid for disaster and storm monitoring services to Roston Solutions LLC, and a request for the CPI adjustment. So,
Council, I'll entertain a motion.
I'm gonna make a motion just so we can have some dialogue. So I'll make a motion to approve the contract renewal for disaster and storm monitoring services to Roston Solution LLC.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Davis.
Okay.
What questions do you have, Councilman?
So, first question I have, the CPI, it states a cumulative increase of 9.1, which is within our packet. It's in the item summary. And they're requesting 5%. is that 5% mandatory? Can we go less? I'm trying to figure out what.
From what I
5%.
understand, they're asking for 5% out of that because when the companies like this during disaster know they can deliver the services what they're stating at that time with the Houston market.
Okay. And is 5% in line with everybody else if they get an increase in the CPI? Other surrounding cities?
That was not compared. This was originally awarded based on several other factors in the agreement. Financially, can they support it? Their past experience and things like that. That was totally awarded as a separate RFP. And then also in the renewal, it allows for the request for a CPI increase as well, which was an RFP.
Okay.
And like I explained, this first request I've had it for CIP to be able to explain it to you a little bit better. But if we look at all the inflation or the challenges we had in goods and services and in labor, this is where this is coming from.
And I might add in a couple things. The CPI is it's established by the federal government for our area. And so, and you'll see these three contracts we have, they have three different numbers, and you might say, well, why is the CPI different for the three different companies, right? One thing that's important to realize is that, okay, this is for the debris monitoring.
Yes,
right
sir.
now, we only have one debris monitoring company under contract. We're required to have them under contract in order to get reimbursement by FEMA. So when we have a hurricane, we'll have one company will come in and do all the cleanup, pick up all the debris, haul it off to the landfill, bring their chainsaws, all that good stuff, right? And then FEMA requires us to have a second company to monitor the first company to make sure that they're not milking it, that they're, because FEMA eventually, when we pay these companies to do the removal, and we pay the company to watch the first company, make sure they're not cheating. FEMA requires both of that, and then FEMA will reimburse us our expenses. They won't reimburse us if we don't have a contract in place in advance. Okay, so we, Chief Motley, showing more wisdom than other places, I give him a compliment. He did it so that we have two companies to choose from. So we have two debris removal companies and two debris monitoring companies, and we entered into 3-year contracts with 2-year extensions with both. Now, one of the debris monitoring companies has since gone out of the business, right? So for this agenda item, we only have one company to choose from that we've already gone through the bidding process with, and we're in the middle of hurricane season, so we really need to keep them under contract. So we really need to do the extension with this company because they're our only option at this point. We don't have time to bid and get another company, right? So under their contract, they're allowed to do CPI increases on an annual basis for this contract. They didn't do the CPI increases on an annual basis, so if they had, it would have been 9%. And so what they're requesting is that kind of split the baby. We're not going to ask for 9, we're just going to ask for 5%. So under the circumstances that our contract is running out in the middle of hurricane season, they're our only option. I think that their request for a 5% CPI is generous and acceptable for us. So, I would back just kind of a background explanation of where we are in the process and how these contracts work. So, and the agenda item says sign after review by the attorney. I've already reviewed the contracts, and I will do one at a time, but this agenda item, I've already reviewed the extension, and it's acceptable. And so I would concur, and I had conversations with Mr. Pennington and Chief Motley about this, and we've all talked about it and agreed that we recommend to the council that we agreed to do this extension because we're in July and we still have a few more months to go in hurricane season. So.
Thank you.
You have something, Councilman?
I just said thank you.
Councilman Morris, were you finished at the moment?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? You know, I would like to say last year we had Hurricane Beryl, and there was tons of debris out there. Whoever we used to overlook and to pick up the debris, was by far better than any of our neighboring cities. You know, we had clean streets, you know, weeks before they did in Lake Jackson or Clute or what have you. So if these guys were involved in that in any way,
They were.
then I feel like,
Also, Ralston is still working on with us with reimbursement, which is a part of this contract agreement. So any invoices that have been questioned in our meetings from Ashley to send back, Ralston has provided a review of it and responded back to the debris contractor, say, hey, this does not add up, this is what we caught, or this is what it should be reading, and got it corrected so we can able to resubmit it for FEMA. So it goes towards our reimbursement total. And also they provided a daily load. When I say daily load, it probably wasn't till about mid-morning, so we had the totals and what locations they had worked in the same place, and throughout the city of what they had been working on, and along with some photos to follow up, and that was able to transfer that up to city administration as soon as it came in by email. So they tracked this electronically. Some of the questions that come up later, well, you have GPS coordinates on this stuff, it's back into this data they collect. So, or if there was a complaint on something, they could go back and look at where that truck was at and was it in that neighborhood on that day. So it's a very valuable service.
council, any other questions or comments?
Two quick questions. So, Chief, thank you for the work on getting this on the agenda here today. Quick question, however, did you say Ralston's helping with all of the, I guess, invoicing with this and I guess making sure that the work's done appropriately?
They
Does
monitor.
that include the FEMA refunding?
We handle the stuff submitting to FEMA. If there's a question on what the debris hauler submitted or showing for bill laden or disposal landfill or anything like that, they checks and balance the system.
Okay.
Also, when we've done some stuff through Waymasters coming in and picking up debris as a final haul again, that we did 2 passes after we were completely done, they also evaluated Waymaster as well to make sure everything matches up so there's no hiccups when we submit it to go on up the line to Denton office for reimbursement.
And do we have a percentage in terms of what was expected to be reimbursed and what we actually have to date based on Beryl or all of last year's?
Those numbers are not with me. That's back with finance.
And the reason I asked that was because I knew that there was discussion back in January, even December, about the viability of FEMA and whether or not they were going to be even refunding anything for last year, much less this year. So I'm wondering if we are able to rely on them.
We're still going forward where we're at because that's under a different administration, different budget. We'll know where we're at out. From what I understand, for those conversations, that will be decided after this hurricane season, what direction things are going.
So the money's already been budgeted, whether FEMA reimburses us or not, for last year's collections.
We're submitting for reimbursement to pay those invoices. Nothing's been paid out of this year's budget that I know of unless we've been submitted for reimbursement to pay out of. These companies are able to hold or manage those funds until they're usually paid within a reasonable time after the closeout. So we're in the closeout process right now. So.
Do we expect FEMA to be a viable partner going forward, considering all the cuts that we're notified
There have
of?
been a lot of cuts, with various FEMA grants and personnel. One of the stalwarts, or hallmarks of FEMA has been this debris removal and the reimbursement. The whole ship would have to sink before I thought that would go away.
Right.
I'd be very, very surprised. Cities would be in really bad shape if they couldn't get out there. Chris, isn't there a certain number of days, 60 or 90 days following the storm, the declaration or something like that? You have to have it originally picked up. There's some kind of deadline about that, and there's just no way some of these cities
Damage
could do
assessment
it on
report
their
is
own.
due within the first couple of days after storm hit. A couple other benchmarks, but they're not hard and stone as long as we're making progress. I think the thing you're looking on financial is, FEMA's been around since the 1800s, late 1800s. So it was under the Treasury Department, and they've reimbursed. So it's a matter of what is going to happen in Washington is really what's going to go on. So during that time you're talking about, there's chaos because we were under the American Firefighter Grant, and my grant specialist works in D.C. I couldn't get hold of her for 2 weeks because they shut everybody down. But knowing some folks that have kinfolk from this area and ran into them and said, give us about 2 or 3 weeks, things are going to return back to normal or back to the way they were, and they started operating again. So we're waiting to find out what comes out from policy. A lot of things they're enforcing is written policy that had been deviated over time. So that's kind of where we're at on that, just how it falls out. But I can't give you an answer, yes or no, what direction it's going to go in the fall, because
No, I'm not
Yeah.
expecting that. I just wanted to know where we were as of, from last year on our reimbursement, percentages.
I couldn't answer that. That would be a finance question.
Do we have those numbers, Ms. Hurst?
He's asking about reimbursement numbers, percentages, or anything like that from Beryl.
I don't have them with me, but they will be in the financial report. You'll see at the next council meeting, we have expended funds in 25. I know that in 24, I think overall we were at maybe 2.5. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe it's around that. For the debris management, we're reimbursed 100%. All other activities are at a 75% reimbursement.
Got it, thank you.
And then currently the progress is I'm trying to get things submitted at the FEMA level. After the CRC approves it at the FEMA level, it moves to the Texas level, TDM. That's where we actually are going to get our funding back. So once it gets to TDM, I have to start the process all over. I have to justify all our projects again, and then we can finally begin that reimbursement process.
Great, thank you.
There's a lot of auditors, and it's been a while since I did Harvey reimbursement. So there's probably, we'll see 3-4 independent auditors go through this whole process.
And you're thankful that we have someone else to do it now, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It was a 2-year stop process. Concentrate on that to get it done.
Council, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Agenda item 5J, consideration and possible action to approve the contract renewal for disaster and/or storm recovery services, Ashbrit Incorporated, primary, and Ceres secondary, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract after review by the attorney. Chief Motley.
Yes, sir. Staff recommends the extension of this contract, just like the other contract, for the next 2-year period out of a 5-year award period. Each one is requested renewal of the contract and also a CPI increase. Let you know that the CPI increase for Ashbrit let me get to it. Is 8.5%, and then series is 2.3, but let me explain that. When you apply it to the fees that are listed out in this, because I have them broke down, what it charged per cubic yard to haul vegetative debris, or C&D, which is construction or demolition debris, Ashbrit is still the leader in what they're charging versus CRS. And that goes back to even the original bidding. And this is based on the Houston rate. And Ashbrit kept it where it was at because they knew that that's the minimum they could go. Because I talked to him about this afternoon again, that the Houston rate, that number is being pushed so hard with the population and demand of these trucks and this equipment. So, so don't let the CPI increase throw you. The documents are in there for the 3 years of increase, and they chose the 8.5%. So, but when I went back and looked at what we're using per yard, they're still ahead of series in their bid. So don't let the percentage kind of make you question a lot of things. But when you look in the back and look at the numbers, the common things we're going to use: hauling distance, cubic yards, either from curbside to landfill or from curbside to debris site for burning vegetation. Those numbers are still cheaper than the other contractor. So Ashbrit's still leading number one, even though they asked for 8.5.
And that goes back to the differences in the contract. The Ashbridge, their contract, they would only ask for CPI once every 3 years, and that's why it's an accumulation of 3 years. The other company could do the CPI increase each year, so theirs is only a 1 year rather than a cumulative. So that's why it may look confusing or misleading. Another thing is to point out that if we have a storm, we have two options. And so at that time, we could go with either company. And, Chief Motley indicated that, the Ashbridge is actually cheaper and maybe better quality too, both. But when the time comes, we can talk to them and say, okay, what's your availability? Do you have the trucks? Do you have the resources? And then Chief Motley will then, make a decision or ask y'all for a decision on which of these two companies to pick. So most cities only, what I've seen, they only get one provider. Chief Motley has some foresight to get more than one. So then when the time comes, because you get in a 5-year contract and things change. And when you first did the contract, this company looked strong, and now, we had one go out of business, right? And so it's beneficial to approve both of these contracts so that if we do have a storm, we can make that decision right at that moment, who's the best candidate to go forward.
And your Texas VIP for this company is in Katy, and anytime I've called, he has answered the phone, even if he might be in another part of the U.S. managing a project, and provide answers. Like for right now, working on evacuation questions. Can you get me charter buses if our local system didn't meet our demands? So they're planning out ahead. And also too, when we interview these folks, not only score them, but we do an interview. The company is maintaining its working institutional knowledge within the family business. Some of these companies change over time, and as people retire out, they're not up to speed of where they should be on what they do. So that's my recommendation to council. You have any other questions for me?
Let's see if we can get a motion first,
Okay.
Chief, if you don't mind. Council, do we have a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve contract renewal for disaster and/or storm recovery services with Ashbridge Incorporated as a primary, Sears as a secondary.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Second by Councilman Rosso. Now, any questions or comments, gentlemen? Once again, I assume one of these two are the ones that helped with the cleanup after Beryl last year.
Actually, Ashbridge was Beryl, and Ashbridge was Nicholas, and Nicholas was not a reimbursable event. They came in and got the city caught up, and also when we were behind with waste connections, they took care of a little bit of that. We got the town cleaned up at that point, and we did the whole town at that point around 200,000. So we still burned the vegetation at that time and hauled it to landfill, but the other stuff, C&D, they took it straight out there, and we got caught up on a lot of unhealthy issues that we take care of curbside at the same time.
Cool.
So,
I'm liking the relationship.
right.
We used Ashbridge in my former city, and very happy.
Matter of fact, Johnny on the spot, and then the county was trying to pull them at the same time we were using them. Said, no, we're first in place with the city of Freeport. We're staying here. So they stuck to their guns on who they honor their contracts with.
That's good. That speaks a lot. Council, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Agenda item 5K, discuss and take possible action on ordinance number 2022-2672 and 2023-2820. Councilman Pena, Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. This particular agenda item here was requested here to basically make sure that a couple of things is that in terms of the ordinance 2022 2672, which had language about the number of council members required to make a request for an agenda item, to have that changed back to one. And that was the first one. The second one here, I know that there were some changes here recently in the law about the timetables, and I'll defer to the city attorney on either that particular section 1, or we can address that at another time. And then the other thing was, in section 9, when an agenda item is voted upon, that it would be moved to 30 days versus 3 months. And if there's no inaction, that it would not be allowed to be disqualified from the next meeting. And that was for ordinance 2672. That was the first one. And then the second one was resolution 2820. And in that section here, it talks about work session. And I know in the last several months here, residents have expressed their frustration about not being able to have the work session and having their council representatives speak to that end. And that was brought up and brought on the agenda the last time, and it was well received. And so rather than having to always have it requested, we thought we'd go ahead and make that change in the ordinance 2820, so that we restore the discussion of work session for every council member, and all the other rules would still apply. But also, last but not least, in that same ordinance, it talks about the 4 minutes that the public comments were allowed, and I just want to make sure that it's clear that the residents have been asking that they get their 4 minutes credits, so that they're not just bundled up at the beginning and not able to speak on other items unless they are a public hearing. So these particular items were addressed here, and I know Councilman Davis also had some thoughts on these as well.
Okay, I have to contradict Councilman Pinion here briefly, and I'll take some blame on this. The actual request, the word-for-word request, on both of these items, it should be on the agenda, and I should have caught that and said, hey, let's make sure we put word for word exactly what is the request on the agenda. Okay, so the actual request by Councilman Pena and Councilman Davis is, 1, to change the requirement that one councilman can put something on the agenda without, just by themselves, that they don't require 2 councilmen. We go back to how it was before this ordinance was passed. And then the other ordinance has to do with has some provisions regarding the workshop, and in that ordinance it says, well, you do it however you request it. If it's not an announcement, you have to make a request and list it on the workshop agenda. So the request was that one councilman can request to put an item on the action agenda, and that one councilman can request to put his items on his workshop agenda. So that's the issues before the city council today. Not the other items would have to come back at a later date if you want to make those amendments. So in response to the agenda request from Councilman Pena and Councilman Davis, I drafted a proposed ordinance to modify and amend 2022-2672, and it would say that the procedure is to put something on the agenda, whether it's an action item or it's a workshop item, that it would only require one councilman rather than 2. There's no actual change that's required of 2820 because it only refers to follow the procedure in 2672. So the proposed ordinance, the only change that's in front of the council tonight based on the request is that the rule requiring 2 councilmen requested in writing is reduced, and it's just one councilman can request to put something on their workshop time or on the action item of the agenda. Also, from a legal standpoint, as far as the requirement of 1 versus 2, if you have, we have an open meetings law, state law, that basically the city council, 3 council members, a quorum, cannot discuss the business of the council unless it's in the meeting. And whenever you require a councilman to get 2 people, you're really running a risk of violating that law, because if they, let's say, Councilman Davis wants to put something on the agenda, and he calls Councilman Rosso, and Rosso said, no, I don't think I want to do it. Well, then if he calls somebody else, now he's a violated quorum. So you really only have like one shot, right, to ask another councilman to put something on the agenda. Now you can, I've seen in the past, I think you can, where you can say, hey, I want this on the agenda, and send it out to everybody, and then say, if y'all want to co-sign it, let the city manager know, or something like that. But anyway, so there is, having more than one, requiring more than one councilman does, tempt the, push the idea that you might violate the law as far as having 3 councilmen involved. So, the council can make any rules they want, and it's legal for them to make this rule if they want 2 people. I think I wrote the first ordinance because council wanted to do it. I think the first one I wrote, and the successive ones were done by Mr. Olson. So it's something that legally you can do, but you can also, council has the freedom to decide if they want to require 2 councilmen, they want to require 1 councilman, but that's the only request in front of the council, and I'll make sure and review the agendas more carefully so that it's more clear, because this is just generally about the ordinance, and doesn't say exactly what they want to amend.
With that said, then I'm going to make a motion to table it to next meeting with the correct information. That way we can discuss it.
We have a motion on the floor to table this until the next meeting with the proper agenda item. Is there a second?
I second it.
The motion was made by Councilman Matamoros, seconded by Councilman Rosso. I tend to agree, and I've said it before, this is something I want to talk about. On the agenda, Councilman Pena went far enough to say that on specific agenda-related sections, however, those specific sessions were not given to us. Go ahead.
But he already broke that down and said he cut that, and it's only the 1 councilman to do the agenda. He cut the rest of that already.
Did you know that before we got here tonight? That's
Just for clarification, Councilman Pena and Councilman Davis's request was very specific. It was in writing, and it says they want to change it. The last time it was on the agenda, it was to void it out, to cancel the whole agenda, the whole ordinance, right? Their request was correct. It was very specific, and it says eliminate the requirement of 2 and change it to 1. And so basically it would, that would apply for action items and for workshop items. So there was no defect in their request, right? As far as the, I don't know if you're saying you wanted to have the old statutes to look at, the old ordinance compared to the new ordinance. The new ordinance should be in your packet. I don't know if staff put the old ordinances in there or not, if y'all want to review those or not. But with regard to providing, the ordinances, I think that I talked to Mr. Pennington about that, about the, staff providing that in the packet for, if you want to compare the old ordinance to the current ordinance.
I do not have the new ordinance in my packet. And I ask again, I don't.
I know, man. What's going on? You do the same. Go ahead. You gonna do it anyway. Say nothing to you. What you snapping at me for?
No, I'm sorry?
What you snapping at me for?
I'm not.
Oh,
You're coming after me. But I don't have the new ordinance in my packet.
Okay. Yeah, I prepared a new proposed ordinance,
Is that this Exhibit A, Chris?
I don't know. I don't have a packet, so I have the e-version.
This one says, any request made by the mayor or two council members for
Right,
any
the
item
next
to be
page.
placed on the agenda of a regular council meeting.
That's the Exhibit A behind that. Yeah, that's the ordinance and then the exhibit.
That's the old ordinance.
And that's the exhibit.
No, that's it.
Well, I know that we've passed ordinances before or voted on things, and then the resolution itself gets drafted as such. All this means is that, I'm all for housekeeping and keeping it all right, but we've done this process before where we can take a vote on this. And it's a real simple request to allow the council to not risk having any open meeting violations, any gotchas, and allow the autonomy, just like every other city council member in the county of Brazoria County, to put items on the agenda to represent their wards, their districts. And why Freeport is any different, why that became the case, we all know the reason behind all those, and that's all storied. I'm just asking, I think we're asking here tonight that, we're all trying to move in a new direction, and we're all trying to act in good faith. We have some really strong improvements in leadership and within the staff that are taking a lot more responsibilities for action. So, there's less need for all of this crazy hand-holding, and for that matter, silencing. If you have to babysit the babysitter, it's time to replace the babysitter. And here we are, we're trying to ask for more transparency and communication. That's the spirit of this particular change, is to get that back on track.
Jerry, is the lawyer saying that it wasn't written right?
No, he's saying that there's, depending on, let me back up.
Yeah, wait, the lawyer right here.
Oh, excuse me. Go ahead, Duncan. Would you mind answering that?
Councilman Davis, Councilman Pena made a specific request. I drafted an ordinance to comply with that specific request. Apparently, it's not in the packet. So, that's the summary of it.
But to answer your question, the way we currently do it, where it requires two councilmen, okay? If one councilman if Councilman Davis gives you a call and says, hey, I want this on the agenda, what do you think? And you say, nah, I don't think I'm gonna do it. So he turns around and calls Councilman Matamoros. Okay, hey, I'd like to put this on the agenda, what do you think? And he says, at this point, if he says yes or he says no, it's already been discussed with amongst three councilmen. Okay, and that constitutes a walking quorum.
Yeah, but that's regardless whether one person can do it or two. If we do what you're talking about, we've created a quorum.
That is correct. Right? The way that it is typically done, for those of y'all that don't know, an email is sent out to everybody saying, I would like for this agenda item to be on the agenda. I am requesting a second from another councilman, And at the very end, it typically says, please do not respond all, or that will constitute a walking quorum. Which, at that point, Councilman Davis had sent this email out. Councilman Matamoros decides, yeah, I think I want to add that. So he will respond to Councilman Davis, city manager, attorney. So it keeps it within the three, so it doesn't become a walking quorum.
And then the difference between the phone call and then the general email is, let's say Councilman Davis calls Councilman Rosso and say, hey, I want to put this on the agenda. And Councilman Rosso says, well, why? And he explains it, and they have a discussion, right? And he may say, well, is that really necessary? And then he said, well, people in my ward, they're really concerned about the street lights, and not happy, we need more street lights. And Rosso said, yeah, you kind of convinced me, I think I'll put it on the agenda. You're not able to have that conversation if you just send out the straight email to everybody. That people may have there's no give and take or whatever. And so if you have just one councilman can put it, if Councilman Davis's people, some of the people in Ward B say, hey, we only got 2 lights the last couple of years. We want more lights. Can you put it on the agenda and see if council will approve more lights for us? Then he could just put it on the agenda. He wouldn't have to request a second, right? So that's the, that's I guess the decision point as far as having one versus 2 people.
And me, can I say something?
Absolutely.
All right. So throw all that in the trash. The main thing is don't nobody else do this. We are elected officials, and we are the voice of the people. And if any other councilman, almost every other place, I can't say they don't do it nowhere. I have to take that back. But any other councilman in most cities, in all the cities, they don't have to have him to second my agenda request. Now, it's got to be right, and if we're going to get down to the part where it wasn't right, well, tell me exactly when we get done what you need for this, because it'll be right back next week, and we'll have exactly what you need and how you need it. Because we're going to go by the book, and that's cool, and we have the right to change it. So we're going to get it right, but however this go today, just tell me what exactly you need, because you have to tell me that. You can't keep coming here and say, oh, y'all, you got the wrong number. Oh, you didn't put that. You didn't put that. So we're not going to do that no more. We're not going to do that no more. The reason is you are a councilman, you are a councilman, you are a councilman. We shouldn't have to be treated like this. We are elected, and we have the right to put anything on that agenda without having to get a second from anybody. And that's the main issue right here. We have to talk about no quorum and all that. No, my right is to put an agenda on there if somebody in my ward wants me to talk about something. And if he don't want to talk about it and he don't want to talk about it, then it doesn't go on. No, that's not what it's here for. And that's why we want to change it.
All right. Council, any other questions or comments?
Yes, Mayor.
I got a comment. That 2023 and 2820, is it saying the same thing? Is that what you're saying?
It says the same thing about workshop.
So the 2820 is workshop and 2672 is
Action item agenda.
action item. Which
Correct.
one of them is wrong?
Well, none of them are wrong. Both of them require 2 councilmen, right? And so the change, the proposed change is to change it that 1 councilman can put something on the agenda, whether it's action item or on their personal workshop.
Okay. Well, see, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that's what the councilmen are looking to change it so that one councilman can put something on the agenda, they don't need two.
And see, I got a question. So, if it was sent in right, and it's right on the agenda, but he just said it wrong. He just added stuff or said it wrong. You can't go by what he said. You got to go by what was turned in. So what was turned in was right. If what was turned in was right, well, that ain't our fault that somebody didn't type it up right. You showing me something, you could have called them and told them not to put it in there.
I certainly could have, but those that know me know
Didn't say you
that's not
did.
something that this
Didn't
guy
say
would
you
do.
did. I just said you could have. You showing me that, but I mean, anybody make a mistake. I'm looking at the book right here. What's that? Well, what? My name ain't in here. Everybody's name on here. My name ain't in there. Somebody can make a mistake.
I'm not saying they can't, Councilman.
Well, explain to me why it can't go through. What is wrong? What do you need to put it in there?
Well, first of all, Mr. Davis, George said to table it,
I know.
and that's what we gotta do.
No, that ain't what we gotta do.
Well,
You second it and you vote on it. And if the vote don't go to table, then it don't get tabled.
Yeah, but it's already been done.
No, it haven't. We haven't voted.
It
All you
hasn't,
did
but-
was second it.
But let's go ahead and do that. We have a motion on the floor by
Well,
Councilman.
Mayor, I misunderstood. I was under the impression that this thing was written up wrong.
And see, it ain't. That's what you gotta clear up.
But we don't, when we table something, we don't have to give a reason for tabling. We don't have to give a reason for second. But once we do it, it's done.
Once it's voted on, it's
Yeah, once it's voted on, it's done.
Yeah, so we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Matamoros, second by Councilman Rosso to table agenda item 5K. I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor to table, state aye. Aye. All opposed, state nay.
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 Motion to table fails, 2-3.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the change as documented in the agenda.
Okay, a motion on the floor to approve the change that is documented.
To allow one councilman to put something on the agenda, either actionable or workshop.
It doesn't state.
I don't know if you heard that, Mr. Russell. The motion I made was to allow each councilman to put items on the agenda, either on actionable or on workshop. That's my motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any more discussion, gentlemen?
Now that is that clarified? We're just doing that one change.
Well, I mean, that's not what he stated. He
Did
wanted
you-
to change it to one. Hold on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
He stated he wanted to do
Yeah.
one, change it to 30 days, and then the one for the,
No.
Yeah, but see,
That's not
that's
the
ain't.
motion.
No.
I'm still talking, please.
Yeah, when you was talking, you good. Go ahead, sir.
Goodness.
Go ahead, sir. God bless you.
I've been respectful this whole time.
Good. Keep on. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm truly sorry.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
All four of us want one. Nobody up here wants two. Nobody up here wants two.
Yeah, we're not having back and
Don't-
forth,
don't
ladies
talk-
and gentlemen.
Yeah. Don't talk, no.
We're not having
no.
back and forth,
George-
ladies and
George
gentlemen.
talking. I interrupted George. My bad.
Go ahead, George.
George?
So the reason why I was wanting to table it is because I wanted to see what the agenda items. I too don't have the ordinance, the new ordinance stating what they want. I mean, are all of our agenda items reviewed by legal before it's pushed out?
I have an answer to that.
No, I'm not asking you, I'm asking Mr. Pennington or Mr.
Look at
Duncan.
5I and
I mean,
5J.
It's
It's right there. That's your
Mr. Pennington, can you give me
Yes, sir.
an answer, please, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, that they are?
That's correct.
So if it was reviewed by legal, and now legal's saying it's incorrect,
That's what I heard.
I mean,
No,
we got an
legal
issue.
said that I said it
No,
incorrectly.
listen, let me finish.
Let Councilman
that was 10 minutes ago.
Matamoros finish.
Mayor, I made a motion that's clearly in line with what's in the packet. So
I understand
I
that.
don't know why we're
and
rehashing what we were debating 20 minutes ago.
Councilman Matamoros has the floor at the moment.
And this is why we changed it to have two people, because we can't even agree. I understand that, hey, having two council members, if a third one is involved, yeah, we do have a walking quorum. So I understand changing it to one. Now I'm supposed to read people's minds on what they're going to talk about. I mean, this is it's a farce. I'm done.
Council, anyone else?
Yeah, can we read the email was sent in? What is that?
Well, I just want to point out, if y'all take a vote, I guess there's a motion and a second, there will be a vote, right? And if the council votes in favor of changing it so that only one councilman can make the request to put items on the agenda, it is legal and sufficient under the description in the agenda item. So, I think that's the agenda item read similarly last time, but it was a different type of, I think the actual vote and the motion was based on eliminating the ordinance. So, that was legal at the last time y'all considered it, and this is legal as well. If a majority of the council decides they want one councilman and they vote that way tonight, it is legally effective.
Council, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor, state aye.
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 All opposed, state nay. Motion passes 3-2. Moving on, agenda item 5L. Easy. Discuss and take action to elect a mayor pro tem pursuant to the city charter, section 3.05. Councilman Davis.
All right. Did I miss anything on this one?
I have no idea.
Oh, you ain't see the?
I did, but I saw the last one too.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, well, let's go then. Yeah, I put this back on the item today. We need to select the mayor pro temp. We've been here over a year and hadn't had a mayor pro temp. So in city ordinance 3.05, if y'all have a chance to look at it, I'm gonna take my word for it. You look at it yourself. And, you know, it says, I ain't gonna read the whole thing, but let's see where I'm at. All right, city ordinance, mayor pro temp. Well, as you can see, if you read it, the charter states that the council shall select a mayor pro temp at the meeting after the election. Okay, that was last year. That didn't happen. The council did not select a mayor pro temp last year. And what I was told, the reason being that Pena was indicted and he was either going to jail or he was going to take a plea deal to get off of council. Okay, Pena's still here. That didn't happen. So council should not be allowed to hold the office vacant nor delay it for personal reasons. And I feel like that we didn't take a vote for personal reasons back then, you know, to select the only qualified councilman. Now, matter if you like him or not, the city charter said that the only qualified councilman has to be on council for 2 years. And nobody up here was on council for 2 years, except Councilman Pena. So we talking about violating stuff. That was a violation in the city charter right there itself, in my opinion. That's what it sounded like it say to me. Maybe I was wrong. But that failed to happen back in 5/13/24. We had a meeting and that got killed. So the only qualified councilman at the time was Councilman Pena. And we did not vote. And here we are a little over a year later, still no mayor pro temp. So that's why I'm bringing this back up and asking that we vote for a mayor pro temp tonight.
Thank you, Councilman. The charter does state that mayor pro tem must have a minimum of 2 years experience. Councilman Pena, you've got what, 4 or 5?
5 years.
5 years. Councilman Davis, you're just over 1.5 maybe.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Rosso, how many have you got? 2. Councilman Matamoros?
2.
2. So as it stands, Councilman Pena, Councilman Rosso, and Councilman Matamoros all qualify.
And I'm going to make a
So
motion
I want to make a motion to
appoint
make
Councilman Rosso
Councilman Pena
as
for
a
mayor pro temp. That's the games they play. So I had to
Again,
get
I'm
in.
going to make the motion to appoint Councilman Rosso as the mayor pro tem.
No, I already said it.
So did I.
I finished pro temp, you got finished with it. He didn't finish though. He done me like that. Oh, I ain't supposed to.
Right.
My bad.
Thank you.
I finished for me.
I said, thank you. Legal, what's your opinion here?
I would say that I don't know who said it first. It was pretty close. I'd say the person that put it on the agenda, requested to put it on the agenda, would have the first chance to make their motion because they're the one that put it on the agenda. However, the votes are the votes, so it really doesn't matter who goes first because whoever the majority chooses, that's who they choose.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take legal's advice on this. There's a motion on the floor to appoint Councilman Pena as the mayor pro tem. That was made by Davis. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Can I second it?
Yes, it's legal for you to second.
Oh, wow.
Just to kind of get this thing moving. Yeah, I second it.
All right, second by Councilman Pena. Any questions or comments, gentlemen?
Yeah, so I do got a comment. Now, the only reason I put that on the vote and selected Councilman Pena because it's the right thing to do. You know, when we didn't vote the last time, that was wrong. And so now, I just want to make things right. It was done out of a different reason. You know, it wasn't done it wasn't done for the right reason. And it was wrong, and that's why I selected that we bring this back and make it right.
You through?
Yeah, I'm done.
According to the charter, it almost have to be Pena.
Whenever we did it, yeah.
Well, I mean, if we gonna go from today, that's a different story. But
Right.
if we're gonna go from when we first started, back
Yeah.
a year and a half ago, I didn't qualify. George didn't qualify. I mean,
I didn't
that's the way the charter is written.
And I was,
That's the way it's written. The charter's written. If we're gonna go by now, or we're gonna go by then.
Yeah, the vote is being taken today,
So it's for now.
so it's for now.
yeah. But see, that's how we starting new here, I know that. But, like we got an intern city manager. I mean, he's straight up by the book. He's straight up by the book. And that's how this council should have been, going by the book. And we haven't been doing that. And it's just not that hard to go by the book. It's not that hard.
Council, any other questions or comments? I would like to say, when this first came up, it was my first day being the mayor, if I recall right. My reasoning behind it was Councilman Pena was facing two felony counts. Okay. Now, since then, Councilman Pena has gone to trial. He's had his day in court. And he was found not guilty. Okay. So I cannot use that as a reason today to not vote. So with that being said, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. We don't need from the audience. With that being said, that should take us to executive session. Nope, not yet. I gotta get way on the other side of this book.
Work session.
Y'all gotta understand, this is the book that we're working with, and we were back here. And to get to the next agenda item, we gotta go all the way back up to the front. I'm not complaining, because it's still better than those tablets.
Still better than
Oh, there it is. Nope. Go right ahead. Next on the agenda is a work session. First off is Councilman Pena, Ward A.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Councilman Rosso, yourself, and Councilman Davis. Gentlemen, we still have a meeting in progress. Thank you. I want to thank again Councilman Rosso, Mayor, and Councilman Davis for sticking to the rules. And really, the vote was really kind of being in the spirit of the change that we're trying to enact, of more transparency and better professionalism and better accountability and higher trustworthiness out of City Hall. So I can tell you right now, I applaud Mr. Pennington, and I applaud Mrs. Hurst. And there are many other city staff and city police officers who are doing really good work to that end. I know Chief Howe was a big part of that as well. So being the mayor pro tem doesn't change anything. I'm going to still do the work. I'm going to still be asking for transparency and accountability. I just want everybody to know that that's exactly what I got elected to do, and that's never changed. And I think between Jerry and I think we both have, as far as regular meetings go, perfect attendance. So I know that's something that we've joked about in the past. So
I get here before 6, though. Just saying.
I won't get into that, but I will say this is that I know that Jerry is going to be here at every meeting because he doesn't want me to play with the gavel. So no, but in all seriousness, this should have been done a long time ago. I'm glad it's done. Moving on. The next thing I'll say is thanks to everybody that came up and gave thoughtful and meaningful contributions to this budget cycle discussion, to the water department discussion. It's all very important. And if you're watching at home right now or later, you need to know that these meetings are that important because it's a free country and you can complain about it later when the water rates go up or things get decided that were not to your liking, but you got to show up and voice your opinion. And I cannot say enough to encourage as many folks to do just that. This is where, the rubber meets the road during the budget cycle on how our city spends the money and in what direction and what goals and what visions we're trying to pursue and obtain and achieve. And so, again, I thank all the residents that showed up here. A lot of them may not agree with all of our decisions individually or collectively, but I'm glad you're here. And I also appreciate the hard work that's coming out of City Hall. I want to let everybody know that over the last several weeks now that Mr. Pennington has been the city manager, the interim city manager rather, that no question has been unmet and unanswered. And the responsiveness is night and day. What would have been completely ignored before or delayed weeks, if not months, is being responded to in such a professional, timely way that it reminds me of my days in corporate America where that's what you do. You have a professional community, a professional organization, and it always starts at the top. So I tip my hat off to Mr. Pennington, to Ms. Hurst, and to Chief Howe, who are the officers of our city, and I applaud their professionalism. The same thing that's coming out of the interim city attorney, and I'm sure I can speak for all of us that we are really impressed collectively as a council, and I just want to make sure that you guys can hear that from probably the most outspoken critic of City Hall. And it doesn't mean we just take our pedal off the gas there, or that we take our foot off the gas. We got to always maintain the accountability. Somebody had asked me a few months ago, hey, Pena, you know, what are you going to do? You're going to try to get, this is back in January, what are you going to try to do, get rid of everybody? And I said, yeah, and then he's like, well, then what? I said, then we're going to keep the pressure so that we have quality individuals that are pushing for the same things that we believe in, and that is transparency, accountability, and certainly making sure that Freeport is, in fact, the best Freeport ever, and we can define that as however we want to. And I'll just leave it with this, is that, you know, I had a list of items that I was going to name out or list out here that would have been workshop worthy. But I had the luxury to send those emails prior to the City Hall staff, and they gave the answers. So those questions I'm satisfied with, and the progress and the responses on those progress I'm also satisfied with. But there's still a lot of work to be done. And so again, thanks guys for your hard work, all of y'all. I just wanted to make sure that you hear it from me. Thank you guys. That's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Ward B, Councilman Davis.
B, Councilman Davis. All right, once again, it's already been said, but thank you, young men and young ladies, for coming out and joining us. It's always a good time to see citizens out during the budget time. Melanie, thank you for always being, you know, in the budget. You know, worried about the budget. We need more citizens. More citizens should be worried about the budget. I mean, you know, and y'all that are here, I'm sure that y'all are worried about the budget too. So it's good to see y'all, and we need to fill this whole room up. But I think that, you know, the shift, it's about to be a shift in the atmosphere here. Things about to change. I mean, if y'all can't see it, we see it. Mr. Dan Pennis, I mean, if you contact this man, email this man, the interim city manager, I mean, within a day or 2 days, he got an answer for you. He got a response that day. I mean, that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened here. You know, Ashley over there, and the finance director, I mean, you can see the stuff that she's catching up here, and she's being transparent with y'all. You know, I don't think y'all really had transparent budget meetings like this, you know, before. And there's still more to come. I mean, you have to see what's going on. It is a change in the atmosphere here in Freeport. And it's gonna be contagious. They not gonna have no choice, because we get another city manager like Dan, and Dan's gonna go by the book. I mean, I met with Dan, you know, the other day on another issue, and, you know, there's some questionable things we wanted to change or to go about, but Dan said, well, hey, but look, I'm a book man. I'm a charter man. I'm a rules guy. Whatever this paper say, this is what I'm gonna go by. This is what I'm gonna do. If council wants to change it, if it's wrong, if it's getting in the way, or you think we can do it better, then that's up to council to change it. And when council changes it and they bring me another piece of paper, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do what council say do, but within this charter guidelines. That's what kind of leader we need here. And that's what we got out of Mr. Pennington right here. I mean, the city staff all around, I mean, I bet you, I know they can tell you the same thing. You know, she got one sitting right there, you got some in the back right there, in the back. You know, Chief started it. Chief Howe started the change here. You know, we got Motley back there. I mean, he's always been an upstanding guy, to me, that I know. And then Rudy, I don't know about Rudy, but now we got, you know, Rudy's coming along, you know. No, just joking, Rudy. Yeah. Hey, but no, that's what's happening here in the city now. It is change here. And, you know, some people don't like change, but you can't argue with change. I mean, I know there's been some responses that Dan may give if you send in something on the email, and you might not like it, but you had to respect it because he brought receipts with it. He come with this is what the charter say. This is what we're gonna do. That's what we need here in Freeport to change this city. And man, God is good. He done sent us, you know, some God-fearing people here, and it's about to be a change. A change is coming, and I'm excited once again to be here and see it. I mean, it's either it's gonna come here. It's gonna come here, up here with all of us. Yeah, man, Kane and Pena joking today. I mean, you know, yeah, he get here on time, 6 o'clock. You know, it's a joke, but I mean, you know, it's gonna be contagious. You're not gonna, you ain't gonna be able to stop it. You ain't gonna be able to stop it, because once God put His plan in motion, His will be done, and you can't block it.
Councilman Matamoros, Ward C.
So, got some issues. 1706 West 8th, there was a meter put in. That home no longer exists, and it needs to be removed. The property owner called me. He was concerned about that. Avenue L and Yellowstone, there is a concrete bump that needs to be shaved down or saw cut and replaced. It is getting worse by the week. Need to invite AmeriWaste to a council meeting, the leadership. Their issues with their service is getting worse. Driving in my ward, I see garbage on the streets that should be picked up once they dump their garbage cans. Garbage cans are more than the required 5 feet away from where they were set out. I tried calling Janelle twice with AmeriWaste. She did not respond, and so I believe the only way to get her attention and the companies is to have them come and explain why their service is deteriorating. Another issue is with no, that's it.
Thank you, Councilman. Ward D, Councilman Rosso.
First of all, I want to thank all the citizens, whether you're watching us on the web or you're here physically. Thank you for coming out. It's, you know, sitting through this, what we got going on. Hats off to the State Department for doing our road, Brassport Boulevard. It is so smooth. It's like you're in another city. And at the same time, I want to bring to the attention of all the people up here and whoever can do something about that entryway into Freeport. I try not to be negative, but sometimes I am. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's really unacceptable for people coming from Arkansas and Missouri and places like that. And to us, we just roll right by it because we've been looking at it so long. And it doesn't look like an eyesore, but people that's coming here from other cities, they think it's crazy.
Been fired.
Wow.
You're no longer interim.
I guess not.
Whose name is that?
Just make sure I get a paycheck.
That's
Probably
just been put up there.
It's
Avenue
probably a good omen.
Avenue A and Velasco Boulevard, the solar lights have been taken down. For what reason, I don't know. They've been there forever. Therefore, people are blasting through there. When you come off that Velasco Bridge, that's what we call it, coming into Velasco, it's a quick stop to begin with. I mean, you know, it's not even 200 yards. And so people are blowing through there. They either need to put some lights there, because lights been there forever. And so, for some reason, they got brand new stop signs with no lights. So I'll say it again. You got people that's barreling through there, and I'd hate to see an accident, you know, with people coming off that bridge and people thinking that the person, it's a four-way stop. People thinking that the people are going to stop, especially at night. You can't see it at all. That's all I got.
Thank you, Councilman. You know, I would like to, first off, thank everybody that came out, those that have come up and spoke to council about whatever it is that was on your heart at the moment. I want to thank you for that and let you know that that really means a lot to us, and we do listen. You know, we might not always get you an answer right now, but like Councilman Rosso's talking about the road and stop signs. Mr. Pennington's sitting here taking notes. I see Rudy back there taking notes. So we do listen, and quite often we get it taken care of. I would also like to mention how nice it is to drive down Brasport Boulevard. You know, I got called out the other night and got home about 1:30 in the morning, and coming down Brasport Boulevard, not only was it nice and smooth, it wasn't like riding on a old buggy, but you could see the stripes. It was amazing. You know, us old guys, it's hard to see those stripes.
Yeah, you can see them now.
For some of us. But it really was amazing. And I know there's a lot of people who are going to say, Jerry, it's asphalt. It's not going to last. You know, first good rain we have, we're going to have a water puddling right there. And next thing, it's going to be a pothole. You know, 18-wheeler's going to roll across it and it's going to tear it up. You know, that very well might happen. But until then, I'm going to enjoy that highway. That's all I have for tonight. Dan, you got something for us?
Mayor, I just want to say what a pleasure it has been working at City Hall with such a professional staff. Y'all pointed out several of them. They're in this room tonight, and there's several others that are not here, but have done really an incredible job. They're a pleasure to work with. They're really eager and do some hard work. One other deal is that we did have our Main Street manager start today. We'll formally introduce her next time. She'll have some people here attending. She's got a degree in mass communications. She's worked at Telemundo, coming to us from the facts. She's got a history in broadcast and print, so she's got good experience. We're excited to have her. She's very energetic, so we're very fortunate to have her should have a building official to announce, hopefully next time.
Nice, that's even better.
Yes, sir. What's her name? Yes, sir. Her name is Maria Lopez.
Very
That's
good.
it.
That's it?
That's it.
Let's move on. It is now 9:40, and we're going to close the regular session of tonight's council meeting, open executive session. Executive session regarding Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. Number 1, regarding Veolia and contract extension. Number 2, the police department entering into a memorandum of understanding. So we are in executive session.